It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, a very special episode. Mike Elgin is here, Jason Calacanis is here, and we are going to talk about everything from why Mark Zuckerberg is evil to the MacBook Pro performance patch and why Elon isn't a problem. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Twit This Week in Tech, episode 677, recorded Sunday, July 29th, 2018. To serve cat. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping at blueapron.com/twit. And by Betterment, the largest independent online financial advisor. Sign up today at betterment.com/twit and get up to 1 year managed free. And by Moogsoft. Reduce IT alerts and tickets by up to 90%, guaranteed. Visit Moogsoft.com to learn more and sign up for a demo. And by Uber. To find out all the ways Uber's moving forward and to see improvements they've made to the app, visit uber.com/movingforward. It's time for This Week in Tech, the show where we talk about the week's tech news. And I always like to rotate the panels just so we get new, fresh voices on. Sometimes we want the classics.
Yes.
And today it's the classics, baby. Mike Elgin is here, temporarily in residence in the United States. It's always a pleasure to have you.
When you rotated me before the show, it was less painful than I thought. So.
I think we're too dumb to know, Mike, but I think he called us old.
I think
when he said
I think
classic,
he did.
I think it's a euphemism for old.
Talk about classic. Jason Calacanis
Hey, everybody.
is here from Inside.com. It's really nice to see you.
Nice
You
to
haven't been
see you,
here in
my
ages,
friend.
but I think that's because you've been very, very busy lately.
A little bit, yeah. The book tour has taken over my life, so it's
Are you still touring for Startup?
No, it was the 1 year.
Oh, no, it's
for
what's it called? Angel.
Yeah. So the 1 year ended, but now it did so well. Got a lot of great reviews. More people listened to it on Audible, which was pretty fascinating.
That's how we
to me.
read it.
Yeah,
And
I think 4 times as many.
I think one of the reasons is I know you. So when I read the book, I hear your voice.
Right.
But really, if you don't know Jason, you want to hear it in his voice.
I agree, and they tried to stop me from doing it.
Oh, no, that's not.
Inside Baseball, they're like, well, I was at Harper Business, they're like, so we found these incredible choice. We have 3 different voiceover talent, and this one did this friend of yours book, and this one did Tim Ferriss's book, and this one did this person's book, whatever it was. I was like, no, I'm going to read it. My people want to hear my voice. And they're like, yeah, no, we think it should be this. And I was like, why are you dissuading me? And do you think I'm going to suck? They're like, well, maybe. And I was like, all right, I tell you what, I'll do 1 day. If I suck, then throw it away and then hire the other person.
Yeah.
I'm self-aware. And then we did, and it was okay. But it's
There's
very
more than
hard.
okay. It has to be in your voice.
Yeah,
It would
of
be
course. Any
it would be a
podcast.
huge mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of authors who should not read their books.
Yeah.
Right.
That's and I can understand. I mean, if I were your publisher and I listened to your voice, I would say, "Oh, no way, he's reading that."
Yeah.
But but it's a distinctive voice.
Right.
And the style of the writing is distinctive, so it has to
Match.
And also, the book, it's advice, right?
Right.
It's timeless advice from an angel investor, how to invest in technology startups. You want it to be from you. You
Right.
don't want some guy to say, let me tell you how I made money. You want it to be Jason telling you in your ear how he made money. Lisa and I listened to it, and it's great. We listen to it in the car all the time. It's just
I wrote
great.
it myself. That was the other thing. They were like, so
Oh.
tell
We
us
got a
about
writer.
writing the book. And I was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? They're like, well, we have somebody who wrote your friend's book. Wink, we won't tell you who. This guy. And
Nudge,
I was like,
nudge.
And then I was like, I want to F that. I want to write it
Yeah.
myself. And so it's
Was that
wrong.
hard? Was that a pain in the ass?
It's very
terrible.
low. I have to tell you, it's a very lonely
horrible.
process. So what I did was
We've all
I
written books. I'm never going to ever do it again.
I have
I
a
loved
total
it.
solution. Writer coach.
Okay.
So what I did was I hired my friend Brian Alvey, who did Weblogs Inc. with me, and I said, just come over to the house, 20 days, I'll pay you this dollar amount per day, per chapter, and I'll write in the morning, and you read it, then we'll go for a walk, we'll have lunch, and then we'll write or clean it up and talk about more topics. So we did that for 19 days, and we got to 50,000 words, and then we just did a 4-day sprint and got to 65.
So what does he crack a whip?
It was more like having a coach watch you and say, this is boring, this is really good.
In real time? In
real time. So every day. Yeah. So what happened was...
I'll hire you to do that.
It's the way to do it.
And I hired my wife.
Mike's a great editor.
Yeah.
You need to have somebody you enjoy spending time with. So I picked the person I love spending time with, outside of my wife and my kids.
How long did it take you to write?
About 19, 20 days of primary writing, and then another 10, 20 days of
all day
editing.
I mean, you devoted...
It was 6-hour days. After about 5 or 6 hours.
The main job that day was
5 or 6 hours. I can write 2,000-3,000 words in a sitting.
Yeah.
I have if you're an expert on something, then you can do it in that amount of time. But if you're Michael Lewis and you're researching something, I talked to Michael.
Oh, he must take years.
He spends 18 months researching something, and it takes him a year to find a project.
Exactly.
So it's 2 years of finding a project, and then he told me, I write it in 6 months. I write it in 3 months.
If you're a journalist, you don't really know anything. It's like this whole word count.
Be careful when you say that.
No, but this idea
you're not writing about an area of expertise.
You don't sit down and type, right? Like if you know something, you just write it.
One on broadcasting.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
A book where you just did a book called Broadcaster, and you just talk about your experiences broadcasting from the first person, what you believe would be incredible for all these new podcasters.
I don't know why, but writing is so painful for me. I don't know why.
His publisher has a guy.
You got a guy.
I did, actually. I only wrote the first couple of 3 Leah Laporte's tech almanacs. And after that, I got a guy because it just was too much.
I write. I've written since 1990. I've written probably 25,000 articles or something like that. So much easier to write books than articles.
In a way, though, that means your muscle is there.
I have
it just
highly refined way to do nonfiction.
Yeah.
And it's just so. And for I think the biggest mistake people make is they have this elaborate system. They use Scrivener and they do all this stuff and they're moving stuff around, and the management of the blocks of ideas is the hardest part, actually. And the collection.
So what do you do?
So I strip it down to nothing. I spend half the time on an outline. I do a supreme outline. So the outline is the book.
Right.
And
then you're just filling
and then I just go step one, and it's just you have to realize it's not an art, it's a craft. You just go down and you sit down and you're like, okay, this one 1AX or whatever it's like a column. It's going to be 1,500 words, it's going to be 3,000 words, and that's all I'm doing.
You're chunking it.
Yeah, chunking it.
It makes
but the
total
outline
sense.
is everything, because then you never lose track. It's like herding cats. You never lose track of the pieces.
That's how coding works too.
Yeah.
There are many coders, and it's a bad habit, who'll just sit down and start typing code. That's the worst possible thing you can do. And 90% of your time should be spent writing the outline, in effect.
I'm fascinated by the fiction people who just they say there's some great fiction writers who are like, I don't know how it's going to end, and I don't know the characters, but I just know these 4 scenes.
They like that because then they actually live in this world and it's developing.
And they just see where it goes. I'm like,
boy, you
wow,
have to be
really?
good.
That's
I tell you, that happens to me with opinion columns. I start writing a column and I don't know how it's going to end. I have no idea. I can't wait to find out, right?
Yeah.
'Cause it's like,
what do I really think?
yeah.
So Jason so your primary job these days is what?
I do 2 things. I run inside.com, which is 30 email newsletters, doing really well, 30
You were
writers.
doing text too. Did you stop doing that?
We're doing text too. That's Inside Alerts, and it's working pretty well. It's a much more intimate thing to text people news all day. So like 2% of the subscriber base is testing it right now, but we have to be very careful because it's a totally different product to send text news to people. But the people who don't, like 20% of people immediately unsubscribe. They're like, I don't want this.
Too much.
The ones who don't unsubscribe, the open rate is out through the roof.
100%.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, nobody ignores a text.
And then the other half of my time, I invest in 40, 50 companies a year, and I've got 11 people at launch who manage that process.
So that's
and
the angel investing.
That's the angel investing.
And what defines angel investing? What makes that angel?
In the early days, an angel investor was somebody who invested their own money, typically with very little information other than the back of the envelope. Here's my idea. Now it's become a profession. So 10 years ago when I started angel investing, 2008 when I invested in Uber, Thumbtack, and a lot of those kind of interesting companies. When I started investing then, there were maybe 24 angel investors that were known before AngelList in San Francisco. And then there were a couple in New York, like Esther Dyson. It was just very few, like 3 or 4 in Boston. And now it's become 10, 20,000 people globally are doing this. That's why I wrote the book. In our syndicate, so I have a syndicate, jasonsyndicate.com, where if we like a deal and we're putting 100,000 in, we'll invite up to 250 other people can be in the LLC with us in what's called an SPV and put in 2,000 to 100,000 each, and then we'll invest $1 million or $1.5 million.
So you don't have to be loaded anymore to be an angel investor.
No, you could put 25, 50K in yourself and then have a syndicate where that then backs into investing in a company.
All the details of this are in Angel. And
all of them are in the book. And
it's actually a highly recommend if you think this is something you might want to look at.
For sure.
Because you've got a strategy, you've got a plan, you've got a way of trying it before you really get into it. And your rules are very concrete and I think very sensible. So I think this is a good way to start.
I mean, the big mistake people make is they invest in...
They use their heart.
They invest in their cousins, roommates, friend.
Yeah.
And if they were going to invest $500,000 in their angel investing career, they give them $250 before they've even launched a product.
Yeah.
And then the product never gets launched.
Right.
And then they want the other $250 that you've got, and you throw $500,000 away. You go, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So in the book, I kind of outline how to not make those mistakes.
Really good stuff.
Thanks, Bob.
And Mike, you're still writing for magazines. You've got the book, which is great at Gastronomad, and of course, you and Amira are doing the Gastronomad tours experience. Your next one is in September.
It is, October, I believe, in Italy.
Gastronomad.net.
Hills. Yeah. And in fact, this wine here, this is Veto. This is one of the wines. This winemaker, the woman who makes this wine is an absolute genius.
What is this, Veto?
Veto. It's
a white wine
made with. It's actually, she calls it an amber wine. It's an orange wine, but deeply orange. It's made with white Manzoni grapes. Anyway, there's a lot of innovation. The reason you have to go to Italy to try some of these wines is some of the best wines in the world are never exported.
Small,
right? You can't buy this in the U.S. And so and so this is so orange that it's actually like it looks like amber.
I can't wait to try
literally.
it. Is it a fruity, sweeter?
No, it's dry. It actually has hints of whiskey and caramel. It's completely off the charts.
Welcome to
Winecast.
Yes.
What is this? Tell me a little bit about this wine that you brought.
It's from the region of Champagne. To be true Champagne, you must be from the region of Champagne.
You know, it's funny that you brought champagne. I brought champagne too, but my bottle's a lot bigger than yours.
That is a huge bottle of champagne.
And it's also a lot cheaper than yours.
Yeah.
About
well, I think yours is sparkling wine, technically.
Yeah, technically,
This
I don't
is the
think
sparkling wine from California. It is nice, but it is not champagne.
We bought this back when we did New Year's Eve, 24-hour New Year's Eve. We bought one for every hour.
Nice.
And they were only $10, so we figured that's a deal.
Are you not living, did you get rid of your home and you're like full nomad?
So
like
we've done that before. Yeah. So we've been doing this for 12 years, except the 2 years that I was at TWiT.
Yeah.
And we did that for like 6 years. We had no home here. Now we have a small home base. We basically split it with one of my sons.
Uh-huh.
And so we store all our stuff there, and we have a room there when we want to visit him and stuff like that. So we kind of sort of have a home base. But yeah, we travel at least 6 months of the year. We're abroad somewhere. So so if you want to check it out, gastronomad.net.
Right now.
It's the greatest thing ever. Obviously, it's technology enabled. People talk about how technology changes your life. This is how technology can really change your life. You can go live anywhere you want, unless you made the mistake of having a podcast network that does HD video. You can live anywhere you want. Yeah.
Only we hadn't gone with HD.
What a mistake.
Yeah,
you're right.
Video,
if it were just audio,
I know
we could do it
anywhere.
anywhere.
Video.
You still do your podcast. And
I
you can do it from anywhere.
But 98% of people
nobody watches.
Listen, nobody watches.
Yeah.
They watch it, then they hit tab and they do work.
Yeah.
I don't think
business
video
model,
was a
probably?
huge mistake. Only because
No, I don't think it was a mistake at all, actually.
Yeah,
I think
it's
great.
distinguishes us from others.
I mean, what percentage? Like 25%, 20%?
It depends on the show.
Yeah.
Some shows 60%.
Yeah. So, I mean, the people who are watching the video, and with your big audience, that's a lot of people, that they love it. That's why they watch it.
That's the main reason. I think it develops a bond between
you can watch
the
it on
podcasts.
your Apple TV big screen TV.
And most people probably don't watch every show, but when they watch once in a while, they get a sense of space and place and people.
You also have to. You wonder if it's the super fans who are watching. You want to thrill your most passionate fans. Yeah. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems reasonable to me.
Do you make a living off this? Like, do you have a Patreon page?
So the
I actually. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're like, no, I just pay everybody salary and buy USB-C cables all day long. All my money's gone.
So the Gastronomad Experience is my wife's new business. We've done 3. They've been very successful.
What is that? You go on a trip with a bunch of people?
It's a week. So we all live in a big, beautiful farmhouse.
Click experiences on that page.
Yeah, and
that's brilliant.
we get like 10. We get between 6 and 10 people.
Yeah.
We all just go, and my wife's a genius at finding like visionaries who do food stuff. So we go and we make bread, we make cheese. cheese, and then we taste cheese. Then we make wine, then we taste wine. And we do all this stuff. And
Doesn't that sound
this is the Italian
Awesome.
one.
Oh, man.
It's just a week of pure joy, fun, late night dinners, gatherings with locals. We have a lot of friends in these
I just
places.
did this in Spain. I rented a farmhouse, like a castle on the top of the hill. It wasn't very expensive. It had like 6 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Invited a bunch of people and do a bunch of activities.
Yeah.
It's such a great, everybody's into experience.
We did one, when in the Provence, everybody loves lavender. And we did one in Provence that was completely surrounded in all directions by endless fields of lavender. So this thing was this beautiful farmhouse, and it was just heaven on earth. And this is what we do. It's like super fun. But no, I don't make a living on this too much. It's mostly my writing.
Mike's independently wealthier. He could never do all the things he does.
Well, I don't.
I'm living off the twit residuals.
This is the thing with the. I talk about this in the book. There's a whole economic reality to living nomadically that is just fantastic. Namely, in a nutshell, when you are living in a house, your expenses and costs are more or less fixed or rising.
No matter where,
and your income can just go away.
Yeah.
Or it can double, or your income is like this, and your costs are stable. When you're nomadic, the cost can be as flexible as your income.
Oh.
So if you want to launch a business, if you're an entrepreneur and you like, how do I raise the money? Well, one way is you go to Ecuador for a year. Your cost of living is $12,000 a year,
right?
And you take all the rest of the money that you would have spent on a house and a car and insurance.
I know people have done this,
And most people go to Chiang Mai.
The reason I ask
Where's the cheapest place to live? Because I'm moving there.
I can tell you
probably
it's not the Bay Area.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
75 miles.
I get a cave in Tora Bora, but I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
So where's a safe place?
Here's a great place, Madagascar.
Madagascar. This is on your page,
Yes.
gastronomad.net.
Madagascar has their average internet connection speed is equal to the U.S.
All right.
And the cost of living,
firing up the inside.
the cost of living is about 8% of the cost of living.
Now, at this point, this is entirely hypothetical.
Yes.
You haven't actually gone there.
No, we're going to go. But we have been to.
For all we know, they have malaria. I mean, we don't.
Well, it's Madagascar, so it's the
crime rate's low.
It's lowish by African
Lowish.
standards. Low. It's lower than San Jose. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's cheap to live.
Cheap to live.
How's medical care?
I don't know.
See, for me, that's an issue because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
I was going to bring
consider
it
that.
up, but that is definitely on the short
But
list
if you
of things
bring
to
up
think about.
WebMD, it just comes up like that.
Well, a lot of the great developers
Bring some
now
herbs.
are living this lifestyle
Yeah.
where they are remote workers.
Right.
They do a 6-month to 2-year stint for a company, and they get paid 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month. So they're getting paid well.
Yeah.
And then their expenses are nothing.
Right.
And they work to live. They don't live to work.
Right.
And it's really interesting, this young generation, if you're going to get them to work at your company,
Right.
if you said, I'll pay you X amount or X, 80% of X with 2 more weeks vacation, they would all take the 2 more weeks vacation.
Absolutely.
So you have to adjust as a Gen X or a baby boomer to this new generation that they just care more about having Friday off to go to Coachella than their work or their raise or their stock options.
And also,
They're
there are
defined
options where
differently.
developers go and they live on a sailboat for a month, or there are like all these new businesses that bring together developers. They also add training to it, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty interesting.
I'm moving to Reunion Island. It's a French colony. It's easy to get to Paris from.
I'm moving to Peter Thiel's floating center of
Unfortunately,
right-wing lunacy.
Right. We always go to the expensive places, though, mostly. We're in Switzerland.
That's the problem. The places people want to be
I
are
paid
not cheap.
I paid €8 for an espresso in Switzerland. It is an expensive country.
Go to Norway. Oof.
Really? It's even
Norway's
worse.
gone bonkers.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Norway has $1 trillion. They found all this oil off of Norway, so they have $1 trillion and growing sovereign wealth fund. So every single citizen, I think there's maybe 9 or 10 million in Norway, gets a portion of that. It belongs to the citizens, and the minimum wage has skyrocketed. Everything has skyrocketed, so the inflation is bonkers.
I think instead of giving them money from the
$20
oil
beers.
business, they should just give them the oil. Like roll up with drums of oil. Like,
One drum each.
Right. We want everybody to get involved in the.
Here's your share. All right, let's talk tech. Speaking of things that are unaffordable, Apple's i9 MacBook Pro tops out at $7,000. But to do that, you have to buy a 4-terabyte drive and so forth. And a lot of YouTubers complained about performance, that it was, if you really taxed the thing, the i9 would get so hot that it would perform worse than an i5 while it was cooling off. Apple said, yeah, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. Turns out there was something wrong with it in the firmware, and on Monday, they released a supplemental update. They said the bug was a missing digital key. I don't understand how this works at all. Yeah. But a missing digital key that caused this problem. And in fact, everybody who then retested with the patch said, "Oh,
I love how they found it. They recreated the YouTubers.
Dave 2D on YouTube did this. Yeah. And at first they couldn't figure out, well, why? We don't understand. We haven't been able to
Ours is working fine.
Yeah. Dave 2D did a few things weird, like he put it in the freezer. Don't do that.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was my favorite part of the video. I just pulled it up here and I put it in the show notes.
It's good YouTube.
He's like, look, I put it in the, look at the performance. When you put it in the freezer,
it's better.
It goes twice as fast in rendering.
So they spent a while literally working with Dave Lee, because he's the first YouTuber who pointed this out. And they duplicated it. And the scenario was he was using Adobe Premiere, not Apple's Final Cut, but Adobe Premiere to edit video, to compress a video, and they were able to finally figure it out. And they said, "Oh,
look,
oops,
we forgot. There's a missing
$9,000 laptop.
Digital
We
key.
forgot to turn on the processor."
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's pretty awesome that you could get a patch and suddenly it's all.
It's like Elon sending the OTA update to Consumer Reports. It's like, oh, the brakes aren't working. Hold on a second.
Yeah, wasn't that wild?
Pounds the keyboard. 2 weeks later, like Consumer Reports approves it, and we've never in our life seen somebody change the performance of a car with software.
Yeah. The braking distance, they halved it by an over-the-air update.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't help but notice you're wearing a Tesla jacket.
I am wearing my OG. This is the Tesla jacket. They made a couple of hundred
Jason
of them
was the first.
in the Roadster day.
One of the
this
first
is the Roadster
owners. You had
logo.
Roadster number 1.
Roadster 16, Model S1.
Model S number 1.
Did you get the surfboard?
I don't have the surfboard, but I have Model 3 number 100 of the Founder Series.
Oh, you have a Model 3 now.
So
you've had them all.
I have all of them. I'm going to get the new Roadster 2.0.
Oh, okay. Are you really?
Yeah.
That one's like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. You read the cover of the book? Yeah. I did okay.
I could do that.
I stepped in. I stepped in it 3 times.
And I saw Model
I'm not
X
getting the semi.
coming in.
That's my wife's. I'm not getting the semi truck though. I told Elon.
You're not going to get the semi?
I'll get the Roadster.
That's where you draw the line.
Cars.
So you know Elon fairly well. What the hell's going on with Elon? He's upset.
Yeah, I always got to be careful not to.
Don't piss him off. You won't get the new car.
Okay. I'm not going to piss him off, but I always don't want to be his spokesperson.
No, you're not.
We talk.
Understand that.
Personally, but
I want somebody to defend him because I respect what he's done.
Yeah.
But I don't respect him calling, for instance, the Thai diver a pedo.
So that was a huge mistake. He apologized, and he needs to get off Twitter. And I think
by the way, that's the rule for everyone.
I just deleted it off my phone, and it's toxic and insane.
It's toxic.
And you just have to get off of it. Like, it literally is the worst place because you wind up...
It makes you...
It's the rage video game.
Yes.
Like, you open it up, and you're like, what can I be outraged about? Okay, that guy. And he's no longer the underdog. Now he's like the billionaire guy. And he wasn't a billionaire when he started all this. In fact, he lost all his money at one point building Tesla up and SpaceX. And he actually did go.
Did he actually go to zero?
He was negative.
Wow.
Living on a loan. I'm not talking out of school. He talked about this. He was living off a $200,000 loan from another billionaire friend of ours, and he was just trying to figure out if he could during the Great Recession, which was only 10 years ago.
So you're saying at some point I was doing better than Elon Musk?
For sure. Unless you were millions of dollars in debt, you were.
Okay.
Holy cow!
Everybody listening to my voice, but now what happens is then society, and they build you up, and then they want to break you down. And
that's, by the way, the nature of the world. And there's no celebrity in America that isn't, on top, down, up. They want to, as soon as you get anywhere, they shoot at you.
Fighting with everybody. Then the thing that nobody's ever seen is the short interest in Tesla's grown, and they're creating all these anonymous accounts, just like they did during the election with the Russians and the bots. So if
these are people who are betting against Tesla's success.
They're betting
shorting
the shares
the stock.
to go down, right?
So it's in their interest that the news about Tesla always be negative, always be bad.
And they basically spread FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, and they ignore anything like people who buy the cars not shutting up about them, the high ratings of them, and all the achievements. And so I think he just
there's also some ammo for some of these shorts. I mean,
the ammo is they've been losing money like Amazon and other great companies for a long period of time. And the other ammo, which is totally valid, and Elon's like sleeping on the factory floor fixing this, is that he's been late with the cars. So when he was late with the other cars, it was all super fans. So it didn't matter. Like if you were late with the Roadster or the Model 3,
had hundreds of
Model S,
thousands of orders.
Then all of a sudden, now you got a populace of 500,000 people. It's not the 5,000 cozy people who were like rooting for this underdog to maybe even make the car. Who knows if it'll ever come out? Now we're beyond Kickstarter campaigning, and now it's into the masses. But he'll figure it out. He always does. But yeah, I think that if you're going to bed, waking up, checking Twitter, and involved in like a war with the shorts, it's just not healthy, and you can't do it on the long term.
Stressed, so that pushed, and I think anybody can understand that. Sometimes, if you know, and the truth is, if it weren't for Twitter, no one would know. His family and friends would know. Oh, poor Elon, he's really stressed out. He's kind of fritzed. But Twitter, suddenly everybody knows what's going on.
Let's leave it at this. I'm not the only person who's deleted it off his phone.
Well, I also
There's
think
other people who might not have it on their phone.
I got
anymore.
an email from a close friend, a Hollywood celebrity, saying, "How did I delete all my tweets?" And you look at James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, old
He just
tweets.
got barbecued,
he lost his job.
And Maggie from the New York Times, who
Maggie Haberman just
she's
dropped out.
Enough of this. Like if you're a woman, it's 5 times worse, 10 times worse.
It doesn't. It strikes me. I mean, obviously Twitter is a cesspool, but it strikes me this is the world we live in. We've got an internet troll as president. We've got trolls. The trolls have won.
It's been mainstreamed.
Well, I've written about this. I call it DAS, disinformation as a service. There are companies that are emerging. And I think so. Elon's visibly stressed on Twitter in public. I think this is going to encourage a lot of, because that's a new goal for those who want to short the company.
Just
right?
create chaos.
Try to freak out. How do we make Elon crazy?
Yes, or whoever the CEO
is. It's psychops. When I get off of CNBC, if I say something nice about a company, I literally have 20 accounts. You can look at my Twitter feed. I'll have 20 people reply, and they're like, "Oh, you fat bastard! Oh, you know, blah blah blah," and they're like literally doing psychops against me, trying to attack me.
Some of those are real people. A lot of those are real people.
No, but when I look at them, their account is got 50 tweets all in the last 2 weeks.
It's a blue egg.
And they're like Tesla short or you know long Facebook, whatever. And it's obvious what they're doing. Psychops.
Twitter deleted a bunch of accounts. About 1 million accounts last quarter. I lost about 20,000, about 5%, 20,000 followers.
I lost 5% too.
I lost 0. I'll tell you why.
Well, okay. And their stock price went down 19% because the stock market wants Twitter to grow at the normal rate of a Silicon Valley tech company. Twitter has not been growing, and when you lose 1 million, but these weren't real accounts.
They're getting punished for doing the right thing.
This is the right thing.
Of them,
in fact, they didn't do enough of the right thing because I would say
the last 10 years.
It should, and I would say it's probably closer to a third to a half of Twitter accounts are bogus.
Yeah. I mean, it's the service is being ruined by these accounts. So they took the medicine.
But look what happened. They deleted 1 million. They lost 20%. What if they deleted the true number, which is more like 20, 30 million?
They'll keep doing that over time,
40,
and then
50.
people will adjust. But Facebook had the same thing. Their stock went down because they said they're going to increase spending, and they're going to increase friction when you're buying ads.
I think the stock market's as nutty as Twitter. Facebook lost more money than any company in the history of the stock market. I think it was closer to $150 billion.
It's a big number, but it's only 20%, 19%. It's not unprecedented on a percentage basis.
And it wasn't because they're not growing. It's because they're not growing at the rate they were growing.
It's really about the cost. So the CFO said the costs are going to...
Well, of course.
The growth in costs will be higher than the growth in revenue because we're not going to focus on revenue growth. We're going to focus on cleaning up the service. So in both cases, the companies are being penalized for doing the right thing. Which makes sense in a way because if you don't do the right thing and you let it just go crazy, you sell ads to the Russians in rubles and, bad things happen and, you kind of just let advertisers run amok and you have Cambridge Analytica. And you have all these weird things. If you tighten it up, you'll have no Cambridge Analytica, but also other advertisers will get stopped in the process. So,
although, I mean, when I look at Facebook's revenue, 91% now mobile, that looks like that's going in the right direction. I mean,
they solved that problem,
Yeah. So why did you lose
I manage my followership.
You can't delete a follower. You can't say you can't follow me.
You can block people.
Oh, you just block them?
You just block them. I just block them. And so anyway, I've been managing this for years. Just to anybody who seems even remotely trollish, I sort of block them, and then they wander away eventually. Regarding Twitter, I think the media deserves huge blame for the pain they're getting because
Twitter tweets like they're news.
But that's not what I mean. What I mean is that this thing is being reported as that they purged users and people lost users. You didn't lose any users.
Right.
If a publishing company has been saying they have 1 million subscribers, and then they come out and say, you know what, we only have 900,000 subscribers. They didn't lose 100,000 subscribers. They're now reporting things. Things are more honest, right? When you delete a bot, you don't delete a user. You delete a non-user.
I would say, though, if you're really going to be honest, they should delete about 100 million users.
Yeah.
Because about 100 million of them
They
are
shouldn't
fake.
even call them users. They should call them fraudulent accounts.
There you go.
If we deleted 100 million fraudulent accounts, all that matters is the daily
Stock
active
would
users.
tank.
And as in relation to monthly active users, Twitter has never released daily active users because it's so low compared to Facebook. So they've only said it's much lower than monthly.
Lord.
So monthly is 325 million or something in that range. So if they are saying much lower, I think it's probably between 50 and 75 million daily active users.
Yeah.
It's still an amazing success. They're still going to make a couple of $1 billion a year, but they're in the Yahoo Google trap, which is they're constantly compared to Facebook, and they're fundamentally different services for different groups of people, and they should not put themselves in that comparison game. But it's healthy what they're doing because they're going to start losing, let's say Elon doesn't have it on his phone and Maggie from the New York Times doesn't. I don't. I'm not putting myself in their categories, but it's becoming a trend that your life becomes better when you remove the service. That is a dangerous signal for Twitter.
And Twitter is so important, so culturally relevant, far more so than Facebook. I think they really need to take action, and the action is actually very, very simple. And we talked about this before on Twig and other shows, Leo, but I believe strongly that Twitter should do exactly what Facebook does and Google Plus does, which is that when somebody comments on something you posted, you can delete their comment.
Instagram does that.
Everybody does it except Twitter. So what you can do, what that enables is Maggie Haberman can start a conversation, and then she can moderate her own
I actually
conversation.
have a even better punch up to that, which is what they should do is when you post, it should say allow replies from your followers, people you follow, or both. So you can actually narrow it. Forget about deleting it. I could just say only my followers are allowed to post. Then if you follow me and you write a troll thing, I just
block you.
And
you're gone.
And now you're gone forever.
Yeah.
And
Would
so
that be it? That'd work.
That would be great.
I gave him another suggestion, which actually he took. I wrote a blog post saying whenever somebody posts something really abhorrent and it's been signaled, why don't you blur it out and say potentially nefarious content or potentially offensive content, and then click to see it, and you can click to unlock it. And they did that actual feature.
Yeah.
So they are listening and they're trying, but you got to remember, they started with this whole original free speech concept.
Yes.
And now they're starting to realize free speech at scale with anonymous accounts does not work.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Unless you can just have your own world, live in your own world. So this is one of the things that
private social networks.
Somebody in the chat room mentioned Google Plus. I am on record for being a huge Google Plus fanboy. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as it used to be, but still, they have a feature now on Google Plus that's fantastic. With one click of a button, you can report, delete, and block, and then another thing pops up and you can get rid of all their other recent comments. So it's just so powerful, you just clean house. But the whole way that you use something like Google Plus or maybe even Facebook is you're not on Facebook. You're not on Google Plus. You're on your own little world. And that's how a social network should be. You should be isolated in your own little world where it's like a cocktail party. You don't invite anyone to your house for a cocktail party. You're specific about it. And if somebody knocks over the lamp
or
and gets
two-factor
drunk,
authentication. I mean, when people had to put their phone numbers in, the number of spam accounts went down dramatically. So now if you try to sign up for a lot of services, they want you to use, they'll block you if you're on a VPN. They'll block you if you're using burner numbers. They'll block you, So all these kind of like techniques are starting to be installed, but the reason they weren't installed initially was because they would affect user numbers.
Yeah, what would that do to them? That would decimate their numbers. I mean, could Twitter be a private company? Could it be like, could they pull a Dell?
Easily.
I think it's ideal for them.
As the
It would be
stock
better
goes
if it was
down,
if it was part of a media company like Disney was the one people were. If it was part of
Disney's
Disney,
never going to do that.
no. If they have ESPN
God.
and they had ABC News, right?
Yeah.
So they have ABC and ESPN.
But no media company wants to own something they can't control.
Yeah, and they could slowly put controls into it and make it a little bit more Disney-like.
And
basically.
then no one would use it.
No, I think people would still use it actually because the celebrities are there. And Facebook has never been able to get celebrities to use their platform, and Twitter is the native celebrity.
Is that why
usage.
people use Twitter? Because celebrities are there?
I think it's a big part of it is celebrities, notable people like journalists, musicians, kind of like it. CEOs, founders, journalists, like all those people who are verified.
Is there not an underlying deeper problem that people are sick of all of social media? That there's a certain, I feel like maybe it's just me. I feel like people are tired of being always connected. We just want to go back to the village.
I think they believe that they are tired of social media, but I think fundamentally social media is far more valuable than almost anybody gives it credit for. I mean, the ability to connect with somebody. For example, we were talking about these experiences we do. We become really good friends in 1 week, right? And then we stay connected on social media forever.
Yeah.
And
Facebook or Twitter?
Instagram mostly, and Facebook a little bit, wherever people are. Yeah. I'm on all of them. But social media is fantastically valuable, fundamentally. And I really think that users don't spend enough time demanding that you, the company, you Facebook, you Twitter, give us, the users, control over our own stuff. They always want to control it because that's where the money is. That's where the users are. That's where they want to have algorithms. I want a social network where I follow people and I get what they post. That's what I want. And that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Think about that. That does not exist. You can't
used to be an RSS reader with blogs.
Yeah. And
and then they had RSS was supported by Twitter, and then I think they deprecated the RSS support. It really did replace it.
They killed RSS. They killed blogs. They killed it all. Let's take a break. Jason Calacanis is here. I think we did one story. We got a lot more to do. Jason Calacanis is here. Mike Elgin. I knew it would be like this. That's why it's the three of us, and I think it was a smart move. We're going to talk a little bit about one of our sponsors right now. The other day, I made Chrissy Teigen's Chipotle lime chicken fajitas with sauteed mushrooms and sweet peppers.
How did she like it?
She loved it. Blue Apron is so. It's funny because just the other day, Lisa said we're always, for the rest of our life, we're going to have Blue Apron. Yeah. Not every meal is Blue Apron, but we do. I think we do 3 a week. Often we give one away, but the idea is they deliver to you all the ingredients. Beautiful, by the way, the meat, the vegetables, everything's perfect, pre-proportioned, exactly right, with the recipes and pictures and everything, step by step, to make something amazing. You can get the family plan, which is 4. You can get the couple plan, and now, which is nice, you can mix and match. So you can get one meal as a family meal, one meal is just the two of you. And no meal planning, no shopping. You go straight to cooking. It's about half an hour, 45 minutes to cook. The house smells fabulous. You feel a real sense of accomplishment. And there is this kind of feeling of I'm doing something for people I love. I'm making a meal that they're going to love. And it's incredible. We have been so happy with Blue Apron. Our 15-year-old, who is very picky, the other day I made a steak with caper butter sauce. And it was so incredible. What was the side on that? It was something unusual. It was really phenomenal. Yeah, capers are great, right? This caper butter thing was so good. Oh, it was mashed potatoes with I wish I could remember the rest. Anyway, it was fabulous. And then I know how to do it, and so I can do it again. I keep those cards, but honestly, it just broadens your range. It gives you delicious food. They have 12 new recipes a week, and you can choose 2, 3, or 4 recipes, depending on your schedule. Of course, you could put off a week's delivery anytime. That's not a problem. Non-GMO ingredients, meat with no added hormones, delicious stuff. One customer favorite, I want to do this one, sweet chili beef and vegetable stir fry. They have vegetarian, too. How about barbecue vegetable flatbread with Swiss cheese? Just phenomenal stuff. Check it out. This week, you go there, look at the menu, pick 3 meals. You'll get them free with free shipping at blueapron.com/twit. Your first 3 meals free with free shipping. blueapron.com/twit. I couldn't be happier with Blue Apron. And
you know that I think the stat that I've heard, I think, is that Americans throw away approximately half the food that they buy.
Yeah, well, we don't ever do that.
Blue Apron, you throw away 0.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly the right amount. And they're fantastic.
I did want to mention, as long as we're in Apple, Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know. Are you and Gary friends? I know Gary. I like Gary.
Yeah, we're friendly.
He's a friend.
For sure. Yeah.
You both come
known each other for 10 years. Yeah.
From the New York City area.
Yep. Social media. He's like a motivational speaker now. He's become
Yes.
Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Which I think
Of
turns-
marketing, though.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins. No, I think he's kind of going full Tony Robbins, like hugging people. I saw like a clip of people crying in his arms.
Oh, my God.
He's
really?
like
Walking
really
over
gone
coals.
full. He's gone full.
Oh, that's interesting.
Motivational speaker, which is fine.
We-
but I think
he's
that
good
turns
at
some
it.
people
We
off.
love Gary. I've known for forever, probably 10 years at least.
Yeah.
When you swear in our chat room, it says Vaynerchuk instead of the swear word. So he's always memorialized in our chat room.
I like that.
He was on
Okay,
that.
everybody say the F word in the chat room, please. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Don't do that. Sorry.
Oh,
Say
go
Vaynerchuk.
ahead.
It's too late.
Actually, if everybody says Vaynerchuk, it'll even be funnier. So he was in that Planet of the Apps show, the worst thing ever.
Yep.
Just a
Yep.
piece of
I
junk.
passed.
Did you? They asked you to be on it?
Yeah.
You were
Good
smart.
call. Good call.
I just knew like it was a shiny floor show.
Yeah.
And it was such a knockoff and had no original ideas.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, it's going to be like you and Gwyneth Paltrow. And
Yeah. Jessica Alba.
I was like, wait a second.
Will I
Is
Am?
this? I was like, these aren't internet people. And they're like, well, she's got Goop. I'm like, she's got a blog. Like, does she have a? Why don't you just
And
have
then the
like
idea is you
come down an elevator
instead of the elevator pitch,
It's an
it's
escalator.
escalator pitch. So you're on
like
an escalator.
horrible,
Yeah.
like literally
Terrible.
horrible. Yeah.
And
Terrible
you
idea.
have whatever time, 30 seconds to pitch them, and then it's kind of Shark Tank meets.
It was terrible. It was just a knockoff of Shark Tank.
Yeah. Gary says that it wasn't a bad show. He says it was badly marketed. They should have hired me.
Yeah. What does Apple know about marketing?
He says he stayed quiet during the marketing meetings, let Apple handle it. Gary, just, it was a bad show. It's okay to say it was a bad show.
Yeah. Also, like you don't want to throw mud at your former partner. So just
Right. That was not.
That's why people are like highlighting it,
Yeah.
but it's fine. You have to never get high on your own supply. And I think
That's one of the 10 rules, 10 crack commandments, I believe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Never get high. It's a Scarface, but never get high on your own supply. But yeah, he's
Really?
getting a little,
Scarface said that?
Yeah, he's getting a little high on his own supply there. Like,
Yeah.
this show would have been a hit if only I had done the marketing and been the host of it.
He's got it exactly backwards. Apple, nobody's as good at marketing as Apple.
Nobody's as bad at content creation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was
There,
great.
that's it. Yeah.
And I think to a very large extent, maybe I stole this idea from one of your shows, Leo. I heard it somewhere. Apple probably didn't market it a lot because they knew it sucked.
That was definitely what it was. Here's the thing: they hired an outside company.
They learned their lesson.
Yeah, I forgot the guy's name, but it will come to me in a minute. But anyway, it was a guy who brought The Office to America, like really smart cat. And then I think he kind of just did this, like threw it together because when they talked to me, it was kind of like very rushed.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were taping in a couple of months, and it was just being all thrown together. And they didn't know what they were doing. They really didn't do a lot of research. And so I think that's exactly what it was. Apple was so embarrassed by it, but they had to put it out.
Yeah.
That it was like, let's just not market it. But it does show how hard it is what Netflix does, Hulu does.
Yeah.
Making hit shows is hard.
It's also unpredictable. You can't predict what is going to be a hot show.
Well, but you can make a good show no matter what. You
Yeah.
can't predict it'll be a success.
Right.
But you don't have to make a bad show.
right.
No?
I'm not sure. I think with Apple, like, because they have their DNA is to only put something out if it's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the watch was kind of like the only exception I can think of where they maybe rushed that product a little too much because Wall Street was pushing them hard on a new product category, and look what happened there. But they're so reserved in what they put out there. They have a small number of SKUs, very small number of items. It's the opposite of what Netflix does. Netflix is like, what's your idea? Go for it. We'll buy 2 seasons. What's your idea? We'll buy 3 seasons. Just go for it. Show us. No, we won't pilot it. No, we don't do pilots. We'll just buy the whole season.
Amazon's doing that kind of too. And
Yeah.
And
Buy the whole
actually,
season.
apparently Time Warner wants to do that with HBO now, which really concerns me.
They want them to go 10x. It's like,
It is a problem, though, on Netflix that there's too much new content.
they're going through a bad spell. Like, there's nothing good on there. I don't know. I've been really disappointed in the selection.
That's
But
going to
how
be
the Hitspace-
problematic for them. I mean,
Yeah.
in fact, I think that
Hitspace business.
their results came out a couple of weeks ago, and I think that they were a bit of a disappointment.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be one of these things with them where the subscriber base will parallel the hit shows. So when they have an Orange is the New Black, or they have Daredevil, and there's a lot of promise there. Or, some big comedian does a couple of specials, people will go there. But they had a very meager quarter. They didn't really grow that much. And the quarter before that, or 2 quarters before that, they grew like 5 million. So
It really is hit based.
It's a lot like the venture business, right?
Yeah.
It's like you
Defined
can
by
have
your
lots and lots of failures, and then you have one super hit, and that just pays for everything.
And that, by the way, that's all that people remember. You're defined by your hits.
Exactly.
So you have House of Cards, you're good. You know,
Yeah.
Orange is the New Black, you're good.
Yep.
They're going to remember the Adam Sandler movies. Like he did 8 movies in the last 12
yeah.
months.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody remembers any of them.
That's right.
It's interesting. Apple has decided that they want to succeed instead, so they've hired 2 executives from Sony. They seem to be hiring a lot of big names. They're spending $1 billion. Not that's dwarfed by what Netflix is
Exactly.
spending,
That's
but-
not a lot of money in this racket.
No.
It's a pretty good start, I would say. They need to come up with their own I believe Apple needs Apple Prime, like their own version of one subscription.
That's the question. Where are these shows going to show up? What is
Right.
Apple? They're on Apple Music? Well, that makes no sense.
There's a drop down somewhere in iTunes. Like
Yeah.
it's just they're so that
Where
iTunes
did
legacy
Carpool
kills it.
Karaoke and Planet of the Apps show up?
No, you had to like add them somehow. They specifically buried them. What they need to do is like
They need one subscription to rule
one
them all?
subscription to rule them all. So for $20, this is my idea. $20 gets you music, their TV shows, Apple Care, and 1 terabyte. Nobody's going to use the 1 terabyte.
That's a
obviously.
very good idea.
And then I just pay you one thing.
Isn't
and-
that what Amazon Prime is, really?
Right, and then what they can do is they can increase it from 15 to 20 to 25 over time, and they can include like you get 1 iPhone replaced every 2 years. Like it would be like some meager Apple Care. It doesn't have to be like crazy Apple Care, but that would just make it easy because right now you're having this confusion with where do you find everything.
Right.
You know, it's just too many things to buy.
There was a rumor that Apple is going to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Though that may be
Jason
that there'll
started
be
it.
tiers so that you don't have to buy it all, that you can just...
Too much
you know,
tyranny of choice. Just
Yeah,
let-
that's not good. You probably should just buy it all, right?
the problem
One
is they have to
price.
give a license. They have to give a fee for Apple
Right.
every time they give one of those. So that's sort of the rub. Apple has to give the music industry a portion of it every month, but it would just make it so much easier for them to just.
Neil Seibart, who's an Apple analyst, did in fact say $20 a month, bundle of music, video, and paid magazines.
I
They
said
bought
this like
Texture.com.
18 months ago, I said this. Like,
Yeah. But I like the idea of throwing in a little storage, although Apple makes a lot of money on these things. You know?
They're making their big money on subscription-based services in
And
the App
apps.
Store. That's the big underground story is,
Subscription-based services.
yeah, so people are subscribing to Netflix, or I'm an investor in a company called Com.com
Through them.
through the App
And they
Store.
get a third of that, right?
They get
Just like
30%.
everything.
Well, it varies. If they've now lowered those subscription fees a little bit.
I don't think so. I think it's still
if you have a
30%.
year worth of subscribers, I think it goes down to 15%.
Yeah,
No,
maybe if they
Palm's-
buy a year.
Yeah.
But Com.com pays them a large amount of money, but Com.com gets a lot of
It's worth
support for
it.
them. So I
It's
told
worth it,
everybody,
right?
like, if you were going to sell your DVDs in a store, you would sell them to Walmart for 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Like, this is a better deal.
Yeah.
And this is the future of Apple, is the services revenue
Yeah.
on top of the number of devices.
$9.4 billion last quarter, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
It actually was bigger than iPad and Mac revenue combined.
Yeah. It'll be iPhone and App Store business. I mean, you think about it, the unbundling of cable. The average cable bill in the United States is $140. People don't realize that. So that means some people are paying $250.
Right.
It's like embarrassing. I'm paying $3,000 to
Yeah.
DirecTV for every channel,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, it's only $250 a month. It's, like, it's $30,000 every 10 years.
Yeah.
You save it on gasoline, though, because
Yes,
that's
go
the
to
good
movies.
news, right?
Yeah. But anyway, the way they what's going to happen is as everybody unbundles from that, then they buy the skinny bundle from DirecTV, which I have DirecTV now, which is amazing.
Isn't that what Apple's doing, though? If you look at the
And
Apple
then you
TV,
add.
they have that central TV
Yep.
app. That's the default homepage.
Yep.
All of the services are in there to
Yep.
encourage you to buy those through Apple, by the way. And that's where they put other stuff. And really, in effect, they're becoming your cable provider.
But you
all
can,
over the top.
You can buy it from anywhere you want.
But
if
all
you-
over the top.
If you buy HBO directly from their website, or I buy the NBA League Pass directly from the NBA, I can log in on Apple TV now. So it makes it like you feel more in control with your 7, 8 subscriptions. I believe everybody will have 7 or 8 subscriptions, not 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And you'll just a la carte, and it will make those providers more honest, because they'll be harder working for their money because they're not bundled and getting a
You're
piece
paying
of
for HBO. They better give you the results, or you're going to
Yeah.
cancel next month.
Yeah, if Game of Thrones wraps up and
You're done.
you don't like anything else, you'll be like, I'll just pause and I'll come back if you do Game of Thrones.
And it's easy. Apple gives you an easy way to manage your subscriptions.
They buried a bit.
They can move it up a little bit, but they're still there. They're all there, and you can suspend
Unsubscribe.
them
It's not, you don't have to go to, like with
to
the
a
Wall Street Journal,
page and find it.
they're so loathsome. The Wall Street
pain.
Journal makes you call them on the phone
Yeah.
to unsubscribe.
A lot of companies do that.
And I was like, so the
But
one
I
was like,
subscribed
we do it for
online.
security. I'm like, so you can take my credit card online, and that's not a security threat.
Yeah.
But me stopping paying you
lot
is a
of
security
companies
threat.
do
That's
that.
not a security threat. It's just so annoying.
So what are cable companies going to do? Because they don't want to be internet service providers.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to
That's
be
the
dumb
future?
internet
That's
service
it?
providers,
That's
and that's
all
why
they
they're
are.
all going to be charging you for these, upgraded services, and they'll try to bundle, like I think you were talking about earlier on the tech guy. You were, people
Yeah,
are now
I didn't
bundling
know this,
phone
but
services.
Spectrum is reselling
Yeah, they
Verizon
got their own
services.
MVNO.
Spectrum phone service. Xfinity has its own phone services based on its Wi-Fi access points, which is probably not very good.
Yeah, no.
You probably heard then this story. Spectrum is getting kicked out of New York State.
Really?
I love it. I love
Why?
it.
I just,
What did they do?
I celebrate it.
Because they did exactly what every other company like them does in these circumstances. They promised a bunch of stuff in order to get the deal, and then they didn't deliver on those things, which is
And they
again,
never planned to.
They never planned. None of them do. But then New York somehow, for some reason, they did the right thing, and they're like, "Okay, you didn't do it. You're
Government
out."
thinking in the best interest
So
of citizens.
the
Imagine.
Time Warner, the Time Warner Charter merger in New York happened in 2016. As a contingency on that, New York State says, "All right, but you have to provide high-speed internet in underserved rural areas.
Right.
You're going to make so much money on Manhattan that you can afford to do this. This is our price."
Syracuse, Albany.
Yeah, they agreed to do it, but they didn't do it. They said in their statement, they said, "Well, wait a minute. We provided we extended the reach of our broadband network to more than 86,000 new homes and businesses, but they had agreed to at least 145,000."
Yeah.
So they're even admitting they didn't do what they said they were going to do. Now, here's the thing. I don't think they care, because do you want to be the legislator or the regulator who cut off internet access and television access for millions of customers in New York
They
State?
should just find them. Just make it.
Well, they
make
did.
the-
They fined them $3 million. They'll probably get the
They got to
$3
make it
million.
like $3 million a day until
Yeah.
they start
Yeah.
showing improvement. Like
Yeah.
in other countries, they take it kind of seriously, this sort of internet divide, and so
Yep.
the cable companies will lose money getting into rural areas and then make it, in profits. But low internet Earth orbit satellites and zeppelins, like balloons. I know it sounds crazy.
I've been waiting for the return of the Zeppelin. Will there
Zeppelin
be
is-
Zeppelin air travel as well? Because that's how I want to go.
You know what? There's let me see. How do I say this? There have been reports.
I think Larry Page has a
No,
Zeppelin factory.
Sergey.
Sergey. Okay.
There is a rumor that Sergey has
that you're spreading.
That has
No,
more.
It's
Has
been
more
out
money
there, but
than
I've
he
talked,
knows what to do with.
I've been
No,
at
it's
the
an out-
table
it's
when
a
he talks
story.
about it.
Yeah.
And
He's got an airship company.
he's got it going, but he doesn't like to talk about it. So I was at a dinner party where people were talking about it with him, and he demurred. He didn't want to talk about it. But yes, he believes he's going to down at NASA Ames,
Because he has the old blimp.
the Ames
Shelters.
and he redid them.
If you happen to have a dirigible hangar, well, you
What are you
might
going
as
to
well.
build? A dirigible.
And they also
It
and then
apparently
Larry Page
uses
is using-
breathing air sacs, so it can let the air in or out to control buoyancy.
interesting.
Which means it can go up and down. It doesn't need landing.
And Larry
lanyards.
Page has 3 companies that
Flying
are doing
cars.
VTOLs, vertical takeoff and landing cars that he's working on. So this stuff is happening in our lifetime, apparently. But
Actually, we talked to somebody who said it's going to happen faster than self-driving cars.
it's quite possible over water.
Well, his position was self-driving cars need regulatory approval in local, state, federal.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare of interlocking regulations.
And edge cases.
With flying cars, you just need the FAA to say, okay.
And edge cases, though. You think about the edge cases with cars, it's like somebody jumps in front of it. Well, nobody's jumping in front of a plane.
I guarantee you,
Yeah.
though, that flying cars are not going to happen until they are fully automated.
Oh,
yeah, they
of
are.
course.
Yeah.
You don't want a pilot.
No.
No. You can't have
That's
a pilot
what's
because of
happening.
weight.
So there's a few things that are happening. One is autonomy is important. You got weight
Battery
problems. You
density
got to
is
get
a key
battery
issue.
density to be better because obviously it. But this person told me at this point a flying car is as efficient battery wise as a land car. So we're getting there.
We're getting there, yeah. It's the Kitty Hawk ones. You can see the videos of them flying over a lake. It's pretty impressive. Casey Neistat, the YouTuber, actually took a flight in it.
Here, let's show it.
There it is,
Yeah.
and it's the real deal. They actually let a civilian in there, a high profile YouTuber. Which, if you think about a PR, you're not going to let him go in there and get killed. So they had to feel very secure about this.
Although that would have been an incredible video.
Yeah, and it would have been the end of the company.
And I think Casey wouldn't have minded. Because
yeah, that would
he's
be
a
Casey's way to
publicity-
go.
If I'm going to
actually,
die,
I think
I want to
Casey
go in a secret self. Here, show this. This is
Yeah.
him in the.
The VTOL. Yeah.
Now,
Kitty
this
Hawk.
does not look. But of course, this is a prototype. It does not look viable because it's a one-person craft.
over
right?
a lake, so you can imagine going over in New York.
Also,
if you were
how
flying
noisy
to-
is this?
you won't hear it when it gets up to whatever, a couple of thousand feet, but they make that like it'd be the equivalent of a lawnmower for the neighbors. But what you'll have is
Because drones are really noisy.
you'll have it at the edge of Manhattan. It'll go over the Hudson, go around the Verrazano Bridge, and go to JFK over the water. That's how these things will start. Over water,
Also,
not over.
Do not stick your hand out of the cockpit.
No. You'll cut your hand off with those blades, yeah.
And no skydiving off this thing, kids, please.
This looks insane.
You'll be Julianne before you.
So but I mean,
all right. I guess they wouldn't let him show
they'll be
his actual
safer
flight.
than helicopters.
Okay, but check out the Black Fly. Can you bring up the Black Fly video?
Black Fly.
Black
Is
Fly.
this another Larry Page?
This is, yeah.
So he has 3 of these.
He's been buying a majority control of them. So, 51%. And so, yeah, this is all going to work.
It's a company called Opener.
So this is
a very hyper simplified one-person craft, and you'd have to take off like that.
no. Okay.
Yeah.
All electric.
You drive on roads and you take off straight up, not straight up like VTOL.
No.
But straight up like pointed.
But you don't drive on roads. This is not.
Yeah.
It has wheels.
Roadable.
But it does come with a Depends diaper for each person.
Yes.
You have to wear Depends.
It does. I believe it has a parachute as well.
I see why you have to take off, because unlike other VTOL aircraft which have like helicopter wings, this one has regular propellers.
Exactly.
So you have to point them up,
Right.
take off, and then you can fly once you've got.
So it's going to work.
airborne.
These things are going to work, and they're going to be game changers, hopping around islands or waterways. So places like Sydney or the Bahamas or whatever. It could be very powerful.
So Opener is funded by Larry, the Black Fly car.
Yep.
You can charge this thing in a half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, fully charged. But then it only
flies for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, the way these will work is you'll fly them, they'll land, the batteries will come out, and they'll swap a fresh battery
That's the way
in,
to do it. Yeah.
like the Tesla cars can do, but they never deployed because it's completely unnecessary.
They showed that, that you would drive
can do
over
it.
a thing and they'd swap
That's
the
a
battery.
great model.
They literally are made to do it, but they don't because superchargers become so fast that the idea of like,
You don't
I'm
need
going
to
to
do
give
it.
you my battery and get a loaner,
Right.
and then I'm going to come back and get mine somehow. That whole logistical question, they never got around to
We're
answering.
driving to Tahoe next week, and Lisa said, "Can we do it in your car?" I said, "Well, it's almost 200 miles. It's right on the edge." But then I programmed it
there's
into
4
the computer.
superchargers on the way.
It said, "Oh yeah, you stop at the Rockland Supercharger. There's one in Tahoe. No problem. You got
There's
it."
multiple in Tahoe, and if you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, they have chargers there. So a lot of the hotels are now starting to put
I
in.
noticed that a lot of the hotel. We're
model
going to
for
actually
each
stay in a
other,
house,
model,
but
yeah.
still, it's easy to do. And that's that. Now, is that universal all over the country? No, I bet there's lots
Yes.
of dead spots.
No, you can drive across the country. So, yeah, it's one of the things Tesla doesn't get a lot of credit for is how quickly they deployed that and how fast. I mean, if you're driving a Volt or a Leaf or one of those pieces of junk, like you're going to get
Okay, so
15 miles an hour added, 12 miles. So you
my
have
lease-
to overnight.
my lease runs out in July,
Yep.
1 year.
Okay.
I'm going to get an I-Pace Jaguar. No?
No, you're not.
Because then I have to go to those Charge-Mo,
No, you're gonna get the Model 3.
the Chimo demo
You
things.
get the Model 3, you'll like it. It's really sweet. You may get the high performance Model 3 because you're typically 2 or 3 people in the car, and that's it.
I've been waiting. I got the invitation.
It's incredible. The
And
Model
I've been
3
waiting.
is just extraordinary.
Really?
I drive it every day, pretty much. Yeah.
But you only have one screen. You got no controls. If you have to change the windshield wiper interval on the screen.
What you give
nuts.
up? Listen, you don't have a bunch of dials around this monitor, right? Like you give up a bunch of dials, but you gain over-the-air updates, which are insane.
Yeah, that is nice.
So they can change the interface as they go. So as an example, when it first came out, they had like on the map, you had to reach all the way over to the other end to turn
Right.
on the traffic. And they're like, oh, well, that should just be on the left side. So
Yes.
they moved on the left. And then I think they'll have I think that screen's going to be movable in the future. I don't
It's
know
a
that.
pretty car, although I've heard lots of people taking delivery and there's all sorts of defects. Are they fixing that? Is that
They
gonna
fixed
be-
that, yeah. There was something called panel gaps where when they were putting them on, there was just a little bit of like imperfection. So the thing that Elon made a mistake on was he made it too automated. And so then they took out some of the automation that humans do it, and it worked better.
Because humans
And
can
they'll
say,
slowly-
"Oh, that doesn't line up."
Yeah,
That
so they're
doesn't-
slowly going to add the automation back over time, but he was really going for this like almost lights out facility, like really automated.
Right.
People couldn't believe the level of automation.
Honestly,
Yeah.
great guy. I honor everything he's done. I'm very excited. Shouldn't he let a professional manager come in and take over Tesla and let that and do what his vision
He
thing
has
is?
that at SpaceX. There's a woman who's his number 2 there who really does, I think, contribute that way. They need to find somebody. The problem is, I think what Tesla is doing is so intense right now that it's kind of like having this incredible pilot. Like, you need to have that pilot in the cockpit
You need
seat right
Sully.
now.
You need Sully
Yeah, it's-
driving the plane because otherwise you'll never land
I'm
on the
not
Hudson.
sure, but I think he could train somebody to, fly the plane as
I feel like
effectively.
you
and I
need
think
a
that's
metal bender, somebody who knows how to build cars in there.
yeah, he'll get there. I never underestimate him. I think if you land 2 rockets simultaneously,
that was
you'll
impressive.
figure out
Yeah.
how to do this.
Right.
He's like,
And the surfboards. Can we talk about the surfboards?
What's the
Blow torches.
surfboard?
Okay, so
You've
yesterday
mentioned that.
morning,
Yeah.
they just unceremoniously $1,500 surfboards went on sale. Tesla surfboards, Tesla branded surfboards went on sale on the Tesla site, and they say Tesla. They're made with the similar materials as the cars, right?
I
The-
bet
the
they sell a
surfaces.
lot of them.
They sold a lot. They sold out in like 45 minutes.
Because
or
there's
something like
crazy people like Jason.
that. I have two followers who bought them.
yeah.
And
you
do they cost?
saw we have the kid Tesla out there.
Yeah, I have that too. Did you get that from referrals?
From referrals.
Yes, that's what's good about having a following.
All of a sudden, they sent me a thing saying, hey, you can have
I
a
got it
free
too.
charger or the car. Which do you want?
Obviously, the miniature car.
I don't need the charger.
No,
I already
you
got a
the
charger.
I did the same thing. My daughters love it.
But I'm hoping I get another referral, and then I'll get the charger.
Precisely.
Or
How
a
old is your
surfboard.
daughter?
I have an 8-year-old and I have identical twins who are 30 months old.
Okay, but so the 8-year-old has a Tesla.
She's got
She
a
has
Tesla.
her own Tesla,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
But she's like, Dad, can I have
Yeah.
the Roadster when I'm older? I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to give you a sports
So-
car.
I wouldn't have a Model X if you hadn't talked me into it.
And you love it.
And I love it.
Yes.
Lisa hates it. It does strange things. It's got a mind of its own.
She don't like the wing doors.
It's the wing doors have hit her a couple of times. There are not enough
Wing
sensors.
doors, yeah, they're a...
She said you can no longer, there's a button that says close all. She says you may not hit that until you query and say, is everybody in the vehicle? Are your arms and legs inside? Okay.
Automating closing of doors was a
idea.
bold
Bold. Bold's
move.
one way to put that.
I love it.
It's like
but-
making a flamethrower and selling it to the public. It's a bold move.
When you try to get in and out of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari,
it's
when you
true.
have those, you have to get a lesson in how to do it.
No,
so
it's true. For an old man, those wings, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
I just step out of the car.
It's amazing.
Unfortunately, I can't drive it from the back seat.
Yeah.
But other than that, now,
Yet.
the other thing that it did, she swears to God that the car like ate her once. Like the seats started to fold up with her inside them.
Oh, that's interesting. Somebody must have had their hands on the little
I
secret
think
button.
there was a pepcat.
Does she criticize the Tesla because it does that to her, or does it do that to her because she criticized it?
it knows.
They become sentient, yes. Like
So you
Westworld
think I'd be
situation.
happy in a year? I wouldn't get it for a year. A Model 3 by then, they're going to have all the kinks
Oh, yeah.
worked
No,
out.
they've got the kinks out by now.
And I want the performance version. I don't want that.
Performance
I want
version's
two,
crazy.
I want two
that thing's
two
nuts.
engines.
The Wall Street Journal just
two
said
motors.
that's like a game-changing.
Because it's much lighter than the X.
Yeah, the guy from the Wall Street Journal, which has been the Wall Street Journal's been super critical of Tesla, but the guy who wrote it said this is like otherworldly, like the most insane car he's ever driven.
That's what happens to people. They drive one.
Yeah, they go bonkers.
But I don't use the insane mode. I almost blacked out the last time I used it. I thought this is the worst possible
insane mode
scenario.
is very problematic because when you do it, everybody's drink and keys and whatever,
Yeah.
everything goes flying.
How'd you like HBO's Silicon Valley's
yeah.
depiction of
It just
that?
keeps crashing.
Ludicrous mode or insane
Yeah.
mode, whatever it was. They show that their lips are flapping. It's like in slow motion. Yeah.
It's kind of true.
Yeah.
it's kind of bonkers.
Literally, I start to brown out, and I'm afraid that I will black out.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be good if you're driving the car. So
That's why you get the Depends. Oh, that kind of brown out. Yeah.
yeah, no, that kind of brown. You can't see anymore. All right, well, see, now you've convinced me. I've just been sitting on this invitation. At least
would
I had
do
this. I didn't think I'd get an invitation with all those. I mean, I didn't do it till like late in the game.
Yeah. And it's an extraordinary car.
Okay, you like it.
I love it. I don't like it. I love it.
He loves it more than the
love it.
X. More than the S.
Okay, I like it because I'm in city traffic a lot, and I drive alone 90% of the time. When I take the kids, I'm in the X, and I don't drive the Model S anymore because it's a collector's item, so it's under cover in the garage. But I think the X is better when you have a group of people. The Model 3 is great for 4 people, just perfect. It's really an enjoyable car. I highly recommend taking a test drive. This is interesting.
We're gonna let me take a break first, and then we'll talk about the interesting thing.
Yeah, that is super
It
interesting.
is interesting.
I think it's going to be a big deal.
It's a big deal. Stay tuned.
And for Google
Do you
to
do
jump in.
teases on your podcasts?
When we get back, a big deal.
There's
is
no
coming.
reason to do that because they would just fast forward through the ad.
Yes. But
Yeah,
we're
it's
going to
not
put
that
it
big a
right
deal.
inside the ad.
It's a medium-sized deal.
So the only way to get around that is to make the ad so interesting that people don't fast forward.
This ad is going to be amazing.
Jason Calacanis, inside.com. I haven't seen you in ages.
I know, it's been like a year.
You've been on the show when I'm not here.
Yes. I am your vacation.
He's my fill-in guy.
Fill-in, yes.
Yeah.
I am like your... who used to fill in for Carson? The woman who died recently, the comedian. What's her name? Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers.
Oh,
You're my
Joan.
Joan Rivers.
I'm your Joan Rivers.
You're my Joan Rivers.
I'm your Joan Rivers.
Mike Elgin. He's here also. He's my Prince Charming. He is... the other day you came in, I didn't want to say anything. And one of our staffers, I won't name names, said, "Who is that?"
How quickly they forget.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So you don't remember?
And then John
Millennials.
said, "Oh, it's Mike, right? Never mind."
Elgin.com. And I really want to plug gastronomad.net, where you can find out about those amazing adventures.
Join us
The
in
experiences. Our show today brought to you by Betterment. Now, I don't have anywhere near the kind of money that these cats have to invest. But I want to make the most of it, right? Now, unfortunately, SEC regulations prevent me from doing an ad for something I use.
Right.
Nuts, right? So one product we do that I can't use it. It's the largest independent online financial advisor designed to help customers build wealth, plan for retirement, achieve their financial goals. They have two different levels. 25 basis points, 0.25%. That's a huge deal. And you get all this great investment advice. There is no hidden cost, no matter how much you invest, no matter who you are. The one low, transparent management fee, 0.25%. That's it. No transaction fees. Actually, that's good because Betterment's trading on your behalf all the time. That's the other thing these systems can do because they're computerized. They are making trades daily. Things like now, by the way, this is something real now that... the interest rates are going up, tax is changing, the market is volatile, tax loss harvesting. When the market goes down, you don't have to go, oh, God, it went down. No, you can take advantage of that to save you money on your taxes. And they do this automatically every minute of every day. They're always rebalancing. You're never over-invested in any category, which is really, I know enough to know that's important. Look, at this stuff can be confusing and difficult. Also, I know you geeks, you're saying, oh, no, I can do this. I read a book. And I'm not saying you can't, but you're not going to spend the energy and attention. You might rebalance if you're lucky quarterly, or maybe more likely like me once a year. They do it every minute of every day.
Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. Plus, they're a fiduciary. They make recommendations, and that means they cannot trade in their own behalf. They are not incentivized to recommend any particular fund. They don't have their own products. They work in your best interest at all times. This is what you want. Investing involves risk. Investing involves time, and it involves intention. Set it and forget it. Betterment. By the way, this is a great deal. Right now, you get up to 1 year managed free, not even 0.25%. Go to betterment.com/twit to find out all the details. You might want to just roll everything over to it. Betterment.com/twit. And if you're young and just starting out, that's awesome. That's great. This is the time. The difference between somebody who starts putting money away for retirement in their 20s versus somebody like me who didn't start till my 40s is millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars.
You
Same
want to get
amount
on
of money.
this now. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Do it. Betterment.com/twit. All right. Where's my key? I have a key, and I'm not afraid to use it. This is a Yuba key. I love these things. The Yuba keys are hardware keys that you use as your second factor of authentication. So when I log into Google, I wish my bank did this. My bank is still sending me SMS messages.
Which are easily spoofed.
The worst, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can clone somebody's SIM card, and they just do a little bit of like guessing what high school you went to and your girlfriend's first name, whatever, your pet's name, and then they clone your SIM card, and then they're basically getting every SMS message you get.
Including all those authentication messages.
Exactly.
Yep.
They did this, by the way, all of those hacks you saw of people who lost cryptocurrency on Coinbase and some other sites, what they basically did was they looked for people on social media talking about cryptocurrency, then they found their emails, they spoofed them, then they just basically stole their crypto right out of their accounts.
Oh, my God.
Untraceable. Wow. And they did it specifically by spoofing SMS two-factor. Because people are like, oh, I have two-factor on. I can't get hurt.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you can.
And by the way, if anything falls back to SMS, that's as bad as SMS. So this is the really bugs me. There's a number of things that will use an authenticator or a YubiKey, but then they say, don't have your YubiKey? We can send you a text. Well, guess what? That's what the hacker does.
Right. Yes.
Oh, no, I don't have my YubiKey.
I'm a hacker. I don't want to lie on that question.
I'm going to tell you the truth. Nope, don't have it. Send me a text.
Can't do it.
So make sure, but this is what Google did for 85,000 plus employees. Since early 2017, they gave them a YubiKey, a security key, hardware security key, and said, you will now, from now on your accounts, use this. Zero, since they did that, zero phishing attacks, zero hacks. It was 100% security.
Right.
100% secure. So much so, and this kind of makes me mad, that Google's decided to make their own, the Titan. Which, if I were YubiKey, I'd be both happy at this news and sad at this news.
You know, they announced it, and YubiKey was at the event where they announced it. I guess they had found out about it earlier. But this is what happens. Like, you know, a company like Google will study you, or Facebook. They'll partner with you, and then you'll wake up and your throat will be slit. So you got to always be paranoid.
But if they mainstream this idea, it's good for everyone, because
everybody
right now,
but YubiKey.
In terms of all the users out there, the number of people using keys like this is like less than 1% probably.
You would think, but I don't know what YubiKey is going to be able to do to differentiate themselves.
Well, I can tell you one thing.
Tell me.
The Google Titan, if you ever set the Google Advanced Protection on, they say you need two keys. You need a hardware key like a YubiKey. There are others. And you need a Bluetooth key. And the reason is the iPhone, frankly, because there's no way to use a hardware USB key.
There's no NFC.
And the NFC's not. So you have to use Bluetooth. So you have to buy both to use Google's Advanced Protection. And so Google is building NFC, hardware, and Bluetooth into this one Titan.
Right.
That's a mistake because Bluetooth and NFC are not nearly as secure as this, as a YubiKey.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little air in there for Yubico. I'd be sad if Stina and company kind of failed because of this. On the other hand, you're right. I'm happy because everybody should be using hardware authentication. I have to point out that somebody called me on the radio show and said, well, which is better, hardware or an authenticator? And I said, well, hardware's better marginally. I mean, authenticator is still pretty good. Because if you lose the phone or somebody gets your secret key, the authenticator, they'd actually have to physically have access to the YubiKey.
But it's also, you can lose that.
But you can lose this. And that's why Google, when you use a hardware authentication, also has a button that said, did you lose your YubiKey? And we'll fall back to the authenticator. So in that case, it is exactly as secure as the software authenticator. No more, because you have a fallback.
This is the same similar thing when fingerprint authentication started coming out on phones. It doesn't make your phone more secure. It makes it less secure because you can still get in with a passcode. So it's now a passcode or a fingerprint. So
there's multi-factor.
The hackers have one more option.
They paid all that money for the fingerprint company, Apple.
Yeah.
Then they got rid of it for the face. Why not have both?
I think they will in the long run.
You think so?
I think they will.
That would be so
do the
dope.
screen as soon as they can perfect.
Apparently,
the screen.
Samsung's having an event with the Note 9 in a week on August 9th. And then there's going to be the S10. I'm not sure. I think it'll be the S10, not the Note 9. But apparently Samsung has solved that problem of fingerprint through the screen.
Yeah.
So
wow.
you don't need a fingerprint reader. You just, there's
How
a certain
is that
area.
possible?
Well,
they put a reader underneath and it goes through the
underneath.
screen. Got it. Yeah. That's
and
interesting.
apparently, the rumor was, I don't know if this is true, and Apple has denied it, that Apple couldn't make that work. So that's why they knew they were abandoning the hardware fingerprint
I love
reader.
the Pixel 2 has the finger on the back.
Yeah. That's
and
where
it's
it should be.
so perfect. When you pick up your phone, it just goes.
Yeah.
And I would like to be able to have both. I
And
want to have
I
the
honestly-
back and the front.
Face
Two
recognition, and everybody gets mad at me when I say this, but I don't find it to be that reliable.
When I wear sunglasses, it doesn't work. But other than that, it works pretty
and
reliable.
I'll tell you the time that really doesn't work for me. When I'm in bed, lying like this, I have to sit up in bed and do this. And
Hello?
then- hello, phone, unlock, and then I can lie down. And I find that annoying.
Siri, wake up.
So it would be really nice to me if it had a fingerprint. But you raised a point that I actually hadn't thought about. That is half as secure in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I think your phone is trying to tell you something. You really shouldn't be using your phone in bed.
I don't care. I'm gonna stop it.
All right.
I know. I'm not getting as a good night of sleep. Blah blah blah. The nights that I wake up and I think, oh, I didn't use my phone last night. I feel really good.
I have
about
the
myself.
ultimate for that. I just use Audible now. I put on a nice audiobook. I put it on 30 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on how tired I am.
Yeah.
I listen to an audiobook, and I
works
have the
pretty well.
AirPods, and I fall asleep. And then in the morning,
And they fall
I have
out.
to find them.
Sometimes
every
they're
morning
embedded
I'm
in
like-
your ear canal.
No, but I'm literally moving the white comforter
I know.
and
That's-
trying to find the white
That's
AirPods.
hilarious.
I've
That
lost
is
two
hilarious.
sets of AirPods.
I've
It's not
lost
good.
2 sets as
Not
well,
good.
and I have 2. I just bought another.
When
set.
Leo's on his deathbed, he's going to say, you know what? I should have used my phone more.
You know what? I'm going to say,
I have
what's that
regrets.
hard thing? Oh, my God, there's the AirPod I lost 43 years ago.
They're so
I hope
tiny,
it's
yeah.
43 years ago. Anyway, use these hardware keys. I am glad that Google publicized this and said it works. It completely eliminated phishing attacks. And boy, if you're a company, especially like Google, phishing attacks are your worst nightmare, right? Look what happened to Sony Pictures Entertainment.
Passwords
Look what
and
happened
email.
to the DNC,
To
right?
Democratic National Committee.
Yeah. That was how they got them, was spear phishing.
Yep.
They just, like, we need you to change your password. And then what they do is they pass the parameter of the email address. So when you go to the landing page, like, your email address is already populated.
Right.
So
Oh,
it makes it
that
look,
makes me
oh,
feel
that
better.
makes it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, oh, welcome back, Mike.
Yeah.
It's time for you to change your password. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we made this web page for you.
But a huge number of people this week are discovering that these keys exist. I mean, we nerds talk
You're
about
right.
these things all the
You're
time,
right.
but the general public has no awareness that they even exist.
They're not cheap. I mean, they start at $20. The one you want probably is a little
They're
more
going to come
expensive.
down. If they do it at scale, they're going to come down to 15.
These are
12.
pretty cool because every time you push the button, you insert it in a USB connection. I have to get a Type-C adapter because of my Apples, but it still works. Every time you push the button, you get a new very long code. I mean, it's 40 characters. And it's changes. Most of the characters change every time. So it's a one-time use. You know, the second time, it's no good anymore.
I want LastPass to come out with something where if that key's inserted in your laptop, all passwords are just automatically filled in and just you never have to deal with it.
I have to say that the fingerprint reader, do you use your fingerprint reader on your MacBook Pro?
I do.
And it will unlock your password vault, right?
I guess it does, yeah.
That's, because of course with your password vault, you're using a very long passcode, 40 character passcode. It's a pain to have to type that, and I have to type it a lot. Having the fingerprint reader, now maybe that makes it a lot less secure. I don't know. Fingerprints are maybe not the best security possible, but still. Anyway, good news. Good news. We'll all be using hardware keys, although, frankly, somebody's got to figure out a way to get rid of passwords entirely.
Yes.
They have to mandate those for every politician and every
Oh, my God.
every single government worker.
What do you
Everybody
bet?
in security has to have that.
What do you bet the DNC, whoever the chairman of the DNC is these days, do you think they are using that? No.
The government is so behind.
0%.
They're going to start rolling these out in like 20 years.
Well, you know what? Now that if you have Google Docs, it should just come with it. Like when you pay your $5 a month, it should just they should force people to have it.
It would be worthwhile for Google to do that
Yes.
sort of thing, so they don't have to deal with all this.
So we use LastPass Enterprise, a sponsor, and we require two-factor for all our employees when they're using the company.
Yeah.
We don't make it a hardware factor. You can make it if you want, but you have to use an authenticator. We don't use SMS.
It would also be good if every time people logged in, you had an audit trail where it just emailed you like this person logged in. Like I get them once in a while because I use a VPN when I'm traveling abroad because I want to listen to, Sirius XM or I want to use Netflix when I'm overseas. And if I log in from another city or a global location, you can get that like, hey, is this you? Facebook does it.
Oh, yeah. LastPass
Google does it.
I actually
travel so much, it's constant. It's constant.
I know.
Well, what if you use the same
I blocked
VPN?
everything but the U.S. on LastPass when I was in Japan. I suddenly had to go through this double authentication process I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah.
I was happy about it.
So here's a probably a stupid question that maybe you guys can answer. I think Apple should have authentication. They should have deals with companies that offer two-factor authentication where it all goes through iMessage. Because
That's
iMessage
more
is
secure.
very secure.
That's more secure.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
that'd be
very
secure.
secure. I mean, if you go iMessage to iMessage, it's highly secure. So why aren't they working with companies that offer two-factor? Because that would be a secure way to get it through SMS, but it
idea.
would be through iMessage.
It's not. It's the data and it's encrypted.
Exactly.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. And you have to verify. You have to authenticate on your MacBook or your iPhone.
And it's a far more Apple-y solution than a dongle-y.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with you.
No, actually, dongles are associated with Apple these days. Never mind.
Apple does not support dongles very well, though.
No, they do not.
Very rare. My
Dongle,
Type-C adapter. Was there anything more to say about the Tesla surfboard? Just that they made 200.
It's expensive.
And
They
they
sold out, and I got 2 followers who are getting them, and so I'm going to be
So
monitoring.
they made 200 of them for $1,500 each.
They didn't
sold
say.
a quarter
They didn't say.
million
Yeah.
immediately.
Is that how many? Is that the number? Or?
That's what they say. $2,000 to $5,000. 200 in all made to order. Shipping is expected to take 2 to 10
2,000 to
weeks.
5,000 in the aftermarket.
Yeah.
I think they charge 1,500.
1,500.
Yeah, and if they sold a couple of hundred,
Yeah.
The people love.
Oh
that
yeah,
company.
you're right. That was eBay. If you wanted to buy it on eBay.
Remember the Intel surfboard from probably 15 years ago? They embedded a tablet into the surfboard. So there was Wi-Fi, so you could sit there while surfing and you could
Did anybody
watch cat
do
videos.
that?
No, nobody. I don't think they actually sold it.
It's so boring waiting for that great wave.
Yeah.
I've got to watch some cat videos. Alphabet.
Don't watch Jaws when you're.
Watch Jaws. Watch the Meg, man.
Dude, I'm watching the Megalodon.
Are you excited about the Meg?
Dude, Jason Statham's gonna kick that Meg's
Jason
ass.
Statham and Rainn Wilson together at last. I can't wait.
That'd be a great app to make it look like it was. You can see the bottom of water and sharks swimming underneath your surfboard.
Oh, like you're seeing through it.
That shark is so not cool. That was not cool, dude.
Second quarter results for Alphabet.
Cha-ching.
That's the boss, the Google boss. Revenue increase year over year, 26%. That's pretty nice. That's hefty.
It's a big number now, so you're not going to double it.
Yeah.
But,
it's
I'd
become a
take
growth
that.
company. It's
Yeah.
incredible, yes.
Operating income was lower because they got this $5 billion fine thing.
On top of the original $2 billion, so this is the one for Android, and the previous one was for shopping. And so the EU is going to go through every single feature, and there's probably a dozen fines out there for them.
Yeah,
So
it's good work if you
They
can get
only made $2.8 billion last quarter.
They print money.
It's a little less than $1 billion a quarter.
They print
Money. Net income, diluted EPS. I don't read balance sheets. You probably do. Effective tax rate went up 24%. That's probably because they took all that offshore stuff.
I'm
and brought
guessing it was
home.
the repatriation.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, we don't want the show to get political, but one of the things Trump did really well was allowing people to repatriate that cash at a one-time charge that wasn't so expensive.
Was it 15%?
I think it was 15 was the number, and that would have been much higher. And those companies, because we get that money back here, then you can use it for M&A here, mergers and acquisitions.
That's the
Buy
theory,
American.
although a lot of what happened was Apple used it to buy back stock.
Which is fine. If you buy back the stock, the company, each share becomes worth more money. So
yeah, but
that's
it doesn't
a good
boost
use.
the American economy. It just makes the Apple shareholders richer.
It does, and then hopefully there's some trickle down there, but probably not. But it does give them the ability to invest more, and majority of the money Apple makes goes to America.
Yeah,
and
better to
American
have it in the
employees.
U.S. I agree. Better to have it in the
And also,
US.
if you look at the EU, they're finding these companies, and they could change the tax rules and have retroactively. So they retroactively changed Apple's tax bill.
Is that ridiculous?
And they're just like, by the way, the tax bill is now this, and Apple had to negotiate with them. So you want to get that money out of there.
Of course, the big. So they made money, but I think what a lot of people are interested in when they see the quarterly results from Alphabet is the other bets.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Waymos, the Verilies, the
Nest is in there.
Nest. Nest is another bet.
Nest is another bets, I believe. Yes.
Huh. Moonshots like Fiber, Chronicle,
Moon.
which is a cybersecurity thing.
Yeah, all that. good
Don't you
stuff.
get the feeling that all these things Alphabet is doing are somehow going to enable the company to increase by several orders of magnitude over the next 20 years? Unlike
they only-
Apple.
Well, that's the plan.
Yeah.
The plan is to have one.
Yeah.
They
only
look
need
at
one.
we get one more Android. I mean, if you look at the pillars of
Yeah.
Google, the search franchise, then you have Gmail, Chrome, and Android, which don't make any money but drive the search franchise, and you have YouTube, which in and of itself
Is a revenue
is a
generator.
incredible
Yeah.
revenue generator. But there's really only two revenue generators: Google, search, and YouTube. All the other ones serve those other masters. With over 1 billion users in each one. So they have Chrome, Android, and I guess apps. They make a little bit of money off apps. But
It's really, though, something like 80%
yeah.
ads on search. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really it's.
But
and
you,
that's the
you do
problem.
have Gmail,
But that's the
Chrome.
problem. They've got to find the next pillar.
They
I
should
think
try
that-
a social network.
They did that, yeah. No, I mean, they're printing money. If you look at the gains in online advertising last year, 90% went to two companies, Facebook and Google, of the gain.
Yes.
So they're actually taking more market share, Google and Facebook now. So they become juggernauts. And when you look at advertisers, they really are picking one of two things. If they want to do like really granular stuff, they pick Facebook and Google.
Yep.
And then if they want to do something
Targeted.
like hyper targeted to the individual level.
Especially Facebook,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
Google
mean,
does a pretty good job. Facebook does probably know more about you, but
Facebook knows your graph
Google's
better.
pretty efficient, I think.
But Google knows is intent a lot more, so they see what's in your Gmail.
That's a very good point.
They know
that
your
may
search.
be more valuable than your
It
graph.
is more valuable in the moment. So when you type in Tesla or iJaguar, Volvo, they know you're in the market for a car. That's very powerful. What Facebook can infer with something called audiences is, and it's called lookalike. If you were looking for cars and I was looking for cars and we're all friends with Mike, maybe Mike's looking for a car. So what they will do is they'll say, give us a bunch of email addresses. You give them 10,000 email addresses of people who are on the iJaguar mailing list. Then it says, give me people like that. And then it goes and uses an algorithm to try to find similar people, and it's so effective. Right. So that's like psychographic weirdness. But the other thing they're buying is podcasts and sponsorship. So that
And this is the part where Jason and I
no, but it's amazing because
thank the Lord.
People do want influencers. And so influencer marketing, whether it's Instagram or podcasts, it kind of falls into the same thing. There's nothing better than your friend or a friend of a friend saying, hey, I use this product. Blue Apron's
I
awesome.
can't pretend to have known this, but it really has made it possible to make a living as a podcaster.
Yeah.
There's an extra part. It's not just your friend. People, I think, want to support the podcast they like. And so they will actively
use the
go
code.
out and use those codes. And boy, you can't get better than that. So thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate those
Use
of you
the code
who do that. It is one of the ways we can continue to monetize. It's been difficult, though. I have to say, I don't know what your experience has been, but the last 2 years, so many new podcasts out, so much attention going to political stuff away from stuff that we do.
Yeah, but we've been sold out for 5 years. You've been sold out for a number of years. It's like, I think there's more choice out there, but there's always a flight to quality and to the hosts who can really read the ads and who have that loyal audience. So the thing that's troubling is...
I do worry, though, sometimes that Facebook and Google are so efficient that advertisers are going to say, why would we spend money anywhere else? Actually, the real people who should worry are network television people like that.
The network television, regular broadcast radio, and the one that's most at risk is journalism, newspaper. So obviously... journalism is just tanked, and
because they know nothing about their user. There's no niche that they're...
Billboards do better. Billboards have a better idea of who's going up and down the 280 than a lot of newspapers do. So it's very problematic. And the thing is, Facebook and Google know you're a New York Times reader. So they're bundling the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and selling that as affluent news readers.
Oh, Lord.
Because they know you have it on your phone. They know you have it on Chrome.
All the revenue.
So they steal out from underneath the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, Engadget, whatever, and they tag those people, and then they resell them as like news
No
enthusiasts.
wonder the Journal hates Google so much.
Well, there's a lot of reason to hate them, and I think if Facebook and Google really want to help, what they should do is they should license content from the news groups.
Give some of that money
Just
back.
give them $50 million a year.
Who was it proposed that? Rupert Murdoch proposed that.
He proposed the licensing fee. Yeah, it would be a super easy thing for them to do. Just buy 20 articles a day from the Journal. For $50 million a year, $100 million a year, let them pay for some journalists.
Plus, as human beings, they might want to live in a world where newspapers and news, good news
have
exists.
resources, check and balance. Yeah, maybe.
Well, this is a good question. Are they human beings?
It's
this is a conversation we have a lot on here. Is can you blame somebody like Mark Zuckerberg for what Facebook has become? And I've always said no. He's just optimizing for engagement. He's an engineer, and his team are engineers solving a problem.
Incorrect.
you
don't think so?
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, me too.
Fact. Finally.
Good.
Here we go. No, I mean, Zuckerberg never met a decision where he didn't want to take the route that made the most money for Facebook without thinking about the implication.
He's well aware of the consequences.
100%. I mean, you cannot be that good at building a business and recruiting that level of talent without being aware. And they specifically said their credo has been move fast, break things. So if you look at, we've talked about it here before, but in every instance where they could take out friction that is necessary to maintain quality, they would remove the friction. So reviewing ads and checking that people buying with rubles are not running racist ads is something they could have easily done.
They have no desire to do that.
They have no desire to review ads. Now that they've been caught, now they're reviewing ads. With groups, how many groups are you a member of that you didn't sign up for on Facebook?
I don't know. I actually deactivated my account. So.
Exactly. So, but if you go, you can.
Is that what happens? So you get signed up for groups you didn't want to be?
Yeah. So the number
they
one,
sign you up to groups?
Your friends can sign you up to different groups.
Right.
So
Your friends can do it?
Yeah,
yeah
your
so
quote, friends, unquote.
your friends. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like literally what you could do
But
is...
doesn't that muddy the signal? Because I'm not... that's a valuable signal. The groups I join, the things I like, that's a signal about me. Why would they let somebody else modify that?
Because once you're in the group, that may happen in 10% of the cases, but in the other 90%, it's accurate. So some mom starts a mom's group or dad start a dad group and they add all their dad friends. It's going to be accurate most of the time. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I didn't join this dad group, but okay, it's pretty dope.
So you both believe that Mark Zuckerberg understands the implications of this and is not in any way interested.
I believe that the culture of Facebook is more than most other companies heavily influenced by Mark Zuckerberg's own perspective. And I believe, this is just my belief, that Mark Zuckerberg is completely amoral.
Correct.
He sees, what he sees is, instead of morality, he says, can we get away with this? Will we get complaints? If we don't get complaints, then it's the right thing to do. If we get complaints, we'll apologize. And
there certainly seems to be a track record of that because
absolutely,
they always do stuff and then apologize later.
Exactly.
Just look at the China position. He's learned Chinese. He's begged the Chinese government to allow him in there, knowing full well that one of the rules of the road for going into China would be you have to turn over dissidents, journalists, etc. Sergey Brin also had the opportunity to bring Google into China a decade ago, and he said, no, we're going to put everything outside. It's not worth it for us. We're not going to give it up. So you can just look at the character of Sergey Brin versus Zuckerberg. And I think
this is where I really kind of blame Apple a little bit. I think it's important for American companies to at some point take a stand and say we are not going to support authoritarian regimes with our technology because ultimately it will be used against the people in those regimes.
Yeah, you're going to have to...
I think Apple needs to do that too, and Apple's not doing that.
But they have not compromised their security on the phones in China.
Right.
So,
no, but if you're in China, guess who stores your content?
Yeah.
Your iCloud content is stored by Chinese companies, owned by the Chinese government in many cases.
In all likelihood, I don't know is it that the case with the iCloud? So it's going to be a very difficult. But
Apple needs to say no. Apple has to say no. Yeah. What they've been doing is saying, well, okay, but we're going to make it encrypted. Yeah. Except iCloud's not encrypted.
Yeah.
So.
They're dancing the line probably.
You cannot work with President Xi and expect in the long run not to have to play those games.
And a lot of people will say, "Oh, these companies have to follow the laws in the countries where they're doing business."
Yeah, we're just following orders.
What I say is that Apple and Facebook don't have to make trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. They don't have to do that. And just because they're doing it for the money doesn't make it righter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like, Facebook is way too big. They make way too much money as it is now. I have no interest in excusing Facebook's behavior by saying, oh, well, they have to do that because that's the way you do X, Y, Z. You don't have to do X, Y, or Z. You can be a somewhat ethical company and still.
Well, and also he has super control of that company. It's a super voting share. So unlike the old days where he could get ousted, he can't be ousted. So he could actually even take a more principled stand.
Right.
So because of the super founder design and the architecture of these companies now, someone like Sergey Brin says, we're not going to go to China. And if you don't like that, don't buy our stock.
Yeah. Right.
And if you don't, Facebook could say, we're not going to operate in China. We don't believe in, handing people over to the government to be tortured. And that's it.
Right.
Well, I have to say, I agree with you. I'm thrilled to hear you say that, but I'm surprised a little bit because you're obviously a capitalist.
I'm a capitalist, but I believe in human rights. I don't think these two things, cannot coexist. If you look at our democracy, capitalism and democracy have not always gone together, but they have done a wonderful job in our country. And if you look at other countries like China, they have this quasi-capitalism, crooked capitalism that's going on with, authoritarian control. And we have to say that's not the best model. And this is why it's very important for us to have leadership and to aspire to be honest, really high quality, moral and ethical leaders. That's why I was so upset by when we tortured people after 9/11, or we put people in Guantanamo and wouldn't give them a trial, because that gives evidence to other countries that, hey, maybe
it's okay.
That democracy, they're hypocritical. They have the death penalty,
right.
They have Guantanamo, and they waterboard people. We have to maintain a very high standard in terms of human rights so we can be an example. Obviously, that hasn't worked out so well in the last couple of years.
Well said. Wow.
You got deep.
Well, I think you probably have more insight into what's going on inside Facebook than I do, certainly. But
it's all top down.
Yeah.
They're all
That makes
Clinton
sense.
supporters, by the way. Like, they were all donating to Clinton, but the only person on the Facebook team who was allowed to ever publicly say they were for a candidate was Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Imagine if Sheryl Sandberg or Zuckerberg showed up for Hillary Clinton and spoke at the convention.
Right.
They didn't. Neither of them did.
Yeah.
But you can be
powerful.
sure they were hosting fundraisers.
Yeah. But
you
Thiel
can be
did.
sure.
Thiel did at the
Thiel's like,
Republican
I'm going to go
convention.
there. I'm going to tell everybody my opinion. But they can't. Why? Well, I think the reason they didn't, the executives there didn't publicly support Hillary
Well, they're
Clinton,
playing both sides. Of
was
it.
they were playing both sides. But Peter Thiel's like, I have my side.
But doesn't every businessman
That's it.
play both sides? I mean, that's always the argument. That's why
They shouldn't. I mean, Elon Musk said, I'm going to put my foot down about global
he
warming.
gave,
I'm
he
going
gave
to.
$38,000 to the Republican National Committee.
Yeah, that was weird, too. Well, I mean, I understand he was doing it for
Grimes
access.
said that was because every
That's
executive
why
has
they
to
play
do
both
it.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
why they play
I
both
think in
sides.
terms of like global warming, he left when Trump left the Paris Accord. He said, you know what, I'm out.
Yep.
So it's one thing to give like these minor donations, $3 or $4 grand or whatever it is. Like, I think the, supporting an administration that doesn't believe in climate is a little bit of
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
reach too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me at least.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Republican National Committee, it was a Republican PAC.
The irony is that buying the government is not that expensive.
I am always flabbergasted by how little it takes.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You see senators and Congress people selling out the U.S. government, and you find out how much money they made for that, essentially. And it was like, $10,000 or something like that.
I don't donate to politicians at all. I just find the whole thing kind of weird. But one time I did, and I was at some dinner, and high-profile New York politician came up to me, and he was like, I really want to know what your issues are so I can support them. And I was like, what if my issues, you don't agree with them?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, of course, And I was like, it makes this the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like,
Right.
He's like, no, I mean like business issues. So
No,
like,
I have integrity.
Yeah.
Okay, I want a monopoly.
But this is what politicians do. They want to make everybody
Everybody
group
happy.
believe that they're working for them.
Yeah.
And then they have to
They
fudge
all
it.
lie. It's just how they do it. Let's take a little break, and when we come back, more with our peerless panel, Mike Elgin from Elgin.com and gastronomad.net, Jason Calacanis, author of the books Angel. He's an angel. Aw. And Inside.com CEO.
the
And there it
sequel,
is,
Devil.
Angel, just appearing now in
Konnichiwa.
Japan.
So this guy.
And apparently a #1 bestseller in Japan already.
Crazy.
And a mere 1,944 yen.
I don't know what that is. Is that about $18,000?
No, it's about a penny a
It's like
yen. It's
$14.95.
$20. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
it's good.
My mind is blown when I see that cover. I'm like, wow,
Isn't that
they
awesome?
translated my book. And they're doing
Isn't
it
that
to
awesome?
7 other languages, too. It's pretty dope.
I have I think a Russian version of one of my books. It's pretty
Amazing.
wild. to
I'm
see
going
that.
in September. I'm going to go the 3rd week in September. I'm going to go to Tokyo and do a couple speaking gigs.
You will be, I think, mobbed.
I can't
honestly.
wait. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And but what's great is they're very polite.
Yes.
They mob you politely.
They might have you
I just want to
politely.
go and eat a ton of food.
Food is so good.
Yeah.
I just want to eat tempura and sushi and beef bowls. I want it all.
Yeah.
Coffee,
If you
tea,
get to Osaka,
pasta.
you got to have the Kobe beef. The Wagyu
Oh,
beef is
I
so
cook it at home.
incredible down
Oh,
there. Oh,
yeah,
it's so,
so
good. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a fun week on Twit. We had some interesting guests in house. Maybe I'll show you a little bit of what you might have missed if you missed anything.
Previously on Twit.
A sign posted this at a German bakery.
Yeah.
A Datenschutzgrundverordnung, a data protection basic right. Achtung, in our bakery, we are likely to recognize you by name and your favorite baked good. If you do not want this, shout as soon as you enter, I do not agree. And we will try our best to not know you.
iOS Today.
We got an email actually from a viewer who said,
viewer.
I want to know what's in Leo's bag.
Before we leave, Lisa and I have a little negotiation. How many devices you're bringing? Are you bringing chargers and cables, or do you expect me to bring them? We also negotiate who carries the toothpaste and who carries the deodorant. We share. I carry these in case anybody wants an autograph. So far, I've had these for several years.
The new screensavers.
This is the Tiki-tron, the world's only robot that serves tiki cocktails. Now, you told me we have to make Dr. Bombay, we have to make a sacrifice before we do this?
Yes. Each
Seahorse.
idol represents a different drink. In this case, it's the Mai Tai.
The drink of the gods, the elixir of the gods. And I drop in the seahorse.
And everyone dances.
Awesome. Woo! It's perfect. It's the perfect Mai Tai.
Twit. It keeps going and going and going.
Does it seem like those drinks are getting stronger?
I don't know. Something tells me they're smoking right now. What's going on here?
You're not even...
Very refreshing.
It's just a good drink.
Very, very refreshing. Our show today, that was Jason Howell, all about Android Tech News Weekly. Great guy. He was our co-host this week on the new Screensavers. We got to get you back for the new Screensavers.
I would love to.
Yeah.
For sure. Saturdays, right?
Yeah. And Mike, you've done it? Have you?
I've done it a couple times.
Come back. Yeah.
We didn't have tiki drinks, but
that can always be arranged. I think we should do the technology of winemaking.
We should do.
That'd
fascinating.
Be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. They may have like a robotic foot for pressing the grapes. There's all sorts of stuff that could be in there. Our show today brought to you by MoogSoft. If you are the IT person who gets the alerts, who gets the tickets, I don't have to tell you. It's nuts, right? It's crazy. And a lot of those alerts that come in are meaningless. They're the cascade effect from the causal error. And then you have to kind of go, well, okay, and dig through that and find the real problem so you can fix it. You need MoogSoft AI Ops. Artificial intelligence for IT operations reduces those IT alerts and tickets by up to 90%. Turns that pinball machine that you're in, ching, 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 into a Zen garden. All you get is actionable work items. They call them situations. So they cluster the events. And they do this, by the way, you don't have to teach it anything. No rules, no filters, no models. It learns. It's already learned a lot from previous users, and then will learn more from your situation. So they can say, oh, yeah, when all those things happen, it's because this is going on. So you get a situation. All the events are clusterated into a situation, and then you solve that problem. And you are a hero. MoogSoft AI Ops has your back. It's not here to replace you. It was created by IT professionals to make them support heroes. Heroes in the business. You want this. Now, if you're a CIO or a CTO, trust me, you don't get those alerts, but your IT team will thank you, and they will be more effective, a lot more effective. HCL Technologies is a global IT managed service provider. They put MoogSoft AI Ops into their dry ice platform. This is an amazing dry ice platform. It's amazing for managed service providers. It's the event management layer in there. It's helped their clients streamline operational workflows. They've actually reduced the time that takes the detect to correct life cycle of incident tickets by a huge amount, 33% reduction in the mean time to restore. That means you're going to get that server back up and running. You're going to solve that problem 33% faster, which means you can support more customers with high-quality service, and you can keep the operational costs low, the efficiency up. This is a win for everybody. With MoogSoft AI Ops, you can reduce your IT alerts and tickets by up to 90%, guaranteed. Be more effective. Be more efficient. You got to check it out. You can get a demo at the website, MoogSoft, MoogSoft, MoogSoft.com. Check it out. Add it to your tools, and relax. They're not trying to take your job. They're trying to make your job and your life better. MoogSoft.com. We were actually we use HipChat, as you know.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sold.
You used to use HipChat.
You used to.
I know.
So
Now
it's
you use
interesting.
Slack.
Atlassian, who's bigger, Atlassian or Slack?
Slack is bigger, for sure, and they're making more money and they're growing faster. And Atlassian has a bunch of different businesses, and they're, I think, worth maybe $2 billion in the stock market. And right now, Slack is probably worth $8 billion privately. Wow. And so if they got just, because maybe the HipChat business is 10% of Atlassian, maybe $200 million. So if they were to get even 1 or 2 or 3% of Slack for this would be Slack blocks a potential competitor acquirer. They get all those users, and they defend against Microsoft.
You could see somebody like Microsoft's got Teams, which they're giving away.
Which they just made free, yeah.
Yeah, to teams of 300 or less.
Yeah.
It's not as good. We've been looking because we have to solve this, question about, where do we go now? But I think if you were, I bet you Google was hot on the heels of HipChat, because if you're Google, this is something you lack.
I think Amazon is going to be the one who winds up buying Slack, and then they start going into that corporate and they make it part of the Amazon Web Services.
AWS is the biggest of the bunch as terms of this.
For cloud computing, but this is obviously consumer enterprise is the new category of things that kind of work bottom up inside an enterprise. So I could just see Amazon being willing to jump the fence and pay a large number for
Interesting.
this. I could see Google building it and including it in Google Docs, and
they don't have anything like that for Docs.
they could easily add it.
They have Hangouts. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's
No,
your
Hangouts
solution.
are good for. I know a lot of developer teams love that Hangouts product for when they do their stand-up calls and video calls. Like they're addicted to it, but it's not good for like persistent chat.
But that's the key with Slack and with HipChat is you can go back in time. You can see everything you ever said, everything.
API integration.
Great. And for us, that's the big deal. And that's where Teams falls flat. I asked our team, well, okay, if we're going to move, we could move to Teams for free.
Yeah.
Because Slack is not cheap. We could move to
$7 a person per month.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's not cheap.
No, I know. If you have 20 people, all of a sudden you're paying a couple thousand a year.
Yeah.
You got to think about this. Yeah.
And they do have a free tier, but so I said, do you use integrations? And they gave me, we got Jira, we've got Confluence, we have a bunch of things we integrate in, and Teams doesn't do that.
Not yet. They need to get Zapier or
Zapier. I like Zapier a lot.
If this, then that. I don't know if they support Microsoft Teams yet. When they do, that would unlock a lot.
Yeah, because you could just integrate that way.
Just integrate that way. But it really is a problem. It is the defensibility of Slack is predicated on all these edge cases where people who
it
are
just
making
works with
other
everything
products-
you already use. They've got a great API. It's very easy to write Slack bots.
Yeah.
So anyway, Slack acquired
Big win.
HipChat.
It's really like they acquire the users. So HipChat is going away.
Yes, they're going to sunset it in
and so
February.
it was really a deal, a partnership between the two companies. Slack is going to integrate with some Atlassian services in exchange for this transfer of users. Now, how many Slack users are going to keep? How many HipChat users are going to keep using Slack?
So it's going to. So what we've been looking at, and I'm sure we're a perfect example of what people are going to do, is how easy is it going to be to move? And I was hoping and expecting that it would just happen.
Yeah,
you won't have to do anything. It'll just suddenly be using Slack. It's not going to be that easy. We have to export. We have to import.
They're going to lose some people.
That's not good. Now I imagine they're working as quickly as they can on a transparent switch over. But that little difficulty gives an opening to Microsoft Teams.
Yes. Well,
and the price.
One footnote in all this, I heard somewhere that Microsoft Teams actually has more paid users than Slack. Slack has 3 million paid users.
That's right.
Really? How do they count that? Is it like all the people who had Outlook for something for Teams and they just...
Don't know, but they didn't have
Teams wasn't free.
They didn't have
recently.
a free tier, so basically 100% of their users until recently were paid users.
Microsoft claims that 200,000 organizations use Teams. Slack says it has 500,000. 8 million people use the service. 3 million paid.
Yeah. Right.
What we don't know is how many people are paying for Teams.
Right.
But some of that is not paying for Teams as part of their Office 365 subscription.
It's muddy to make a comparison.
Yeah. So we're not an Office house.
Right.
We're kind of a Google G Suite house.
Yeah, me too.
So that's one of the reasons I thought, well, why didn't Google buy this? That would have been nice.
Google could really use another communications product.
No, they have because they have.
You can say that about Microsoft too. They got Yammer, they got Skype, and now they have Teams. Teams is nice. It looks good.
Yeah.
I asked our team. I said, look, we wouldn't have to pay for it. By the way, there are a lot of other kind of smaller open source alternatives. There's Flock, which is not free. There's Mattermost. There's Riot.
What's the difference between Skype and their chat? Skype had their own Slack chat thing for groups.
Yeah.
It's true. It's very confusing. Microsoft's kind of like Google in that regard, where they have a number of different solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bring back AIM.
In fact, in a way, Slack succeeds because it's so monolithic. It's Slack.
It's one thing.
There's nothing else.
Right.
It's Slack.
There's a lot of third-party integrations and things like that make it
and it
appealing
works
in
with
some ways.
everything, including Google Docs and everything. But the free version of Slack only allows 10 integrations. You can only keep 10,000 messages of history. That might be fine for us. Actually, we may end up doing that.
And is Slack still not encrypted? I heard
it is encrypted.
Oh, okay.
That's actually an interesting question. I believe it is encrypted.
There was a big thing going around a couple of years ago that like they might have been hacked and like everything was going to be released at some point. And they really need to encrypt that
I
stuff.
believe that after that happened,
they really got on it.
They added encryption. Yeah, they added encryption fairly recently. So you certainly would want to use that. I actually use Keybase.
Keybase.
But see, it's free. It's really encrypted. It's using PGP encryption for everything, including encrypted Git and encrypted team messaging.
Some people are using Telegram for this because Telegram has a desktop app, and the way
Telegram would work.
You sync it is you take your app and then you put it into your camera, and it does a QR code.
Yeah, I like it.
And it authenticates that your phone is who you are. So then if you've authenticated your phone with other
Unfortunately,
people.
Telegram does roll your own encryption, which is never a good thing. and it's they claim, oh, no, we're absolutely secure. We've got a bounty. If anybody breaks our encryption.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think Putin's got his hands in all these things.
Well, that's an interesting thing because, of course, for a long time, the creator of Telegram was Pavel Durov, who was the Zuckerberg of Russia. He had the #1 social network in Russia until Putin basically stole it.
Yeah.
And Durov is now outside of Russia, and he claims to hate Putin.
Yeah, okay.
But you never can...
Sounds like a good cover to
You
me.
can never be sure, right?
Yeah, he's going to
wake up dead
I
one of
don't
these
buy
days.
it. I trust no one.
Yeah.
After Maria Butina, now I'm thinking Red Sparrow was a true story, right?
Of course. You have to. Have you watched the TV show The Americans?
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, incredible. Did you guys watch the final
season? It's
season?
about a family that's
Incredible.
embedded. Actually, the mother and father are
Did
embedded
you watch the final season
Soviet
yet?
spies. Yeah.
So it's based on real people, and the real person is
They're
based
sleeper units.
right. But they actually owned a travel agency.
Yeah.
That cover where they it's a perfect cover for sleeper agents. You
Perfect.
'cause you're
Travel
always,
a lot.
Exactly.
Go on tours.
And all that stuff really happened.
Yeah.
Do you think
and
now
more
with
recently.
all what we're learning about Russia, that this is the tip of the iceberg? That this has
100%.
been going on since the Soviet
Totally.
Union.
They're good at it.
It never stopped. They're master spies because this is how they live.
Their economy is half the size of California's.
Yeah, they're not as big as Italy.
Their bread and butter.
They're smaller on a they're poorer on a per capita basis than Trinidad and Tobago. And yet they're this global player in part because of all these dirty tricks and spying and
I just like the
disinformation.
fact that they used Brothers in Arms for the last episode.
Yeah,
Had a really great.
I haven't seen it. Don't.
I'm not going to tell you anything, but they just have they literally play the whole extended version of the song
Really?
over a montage. Kind
Oh,
of
nice.
It's incredible.
Killer
I
last
mean,
season, killer last episode.
Yeah,
Just
They're
it's
talking about
very
the
satisfying.
Americans. We're talking about the Soviets.
Super.
Um,
And
all right.
WikiLeaks, by the way, speaking of tech, he's getting kicked out imminently.
Ecuador has
Who is?
decided to, Julian Assange,
Julian
Ecuador has
Assange.
decided to withdraw his status, his protected status.
definitely
He's been
works.
living in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for ages.
They're going to throw him from
8
the
years.
window.
As soon as he walks out that door,
he's gonna get
he'll be
cuffs.
arrested immediately and extradited to the United States, and that will be very interesting because, well, for a long time I thought good things about Julian and WikiLeaks. I thought they are telling truth to power. It was because of them that we learned about some of the drone usage in the United States, and I thought that was very good. But now I wonder if he is not, in fact, an agent.
They're
of
telling
of it.
lies for power.
Yeah, I think that they either work for Putin or they were a tool for Putin. So they basically
unwitting tool.
Or dopey. Like I consider Julian Assange like a dope. He's like this dopey guy who's got this wants to be famous complex. You know, he's a narcissist. Obviously,
In other words, he's exactly like the president.
exactly. But he's a crazy narcissist who wanted everybody to pay attention to him and be
Are
powerful.
you talking about Assange?
I can't
about Assange.
tell.
Okay.
Okay.
He wanted everybody to talk about him, and mission accomplished. But he
On the other
he convinced
hand-
Chelsea
Manning.
to give up all this stuff. Chelsea Manning was just
She
obviously
just got screwed.
she got screwed, and she went to jail for all this time, and he just gets away with it. And I think the Russians were giving him all this hacked stuff.
Yeah.
He was happy to get it to become famous, but he just released it without looking at it. You know, it's completely.
Isn't it possible, though, that Julian Assange is on the side of the angels and that governments are so upset by WikiLeaks that they're doing anything they can? The Swedes tried, that failed. Now the U.S. is working with Ecuador. Clearly, the U.S. is putting a lot of pressure on Ecuador. They were able to get Ecuador to withdraw their breast milk resolution by threatening them economically. Yeah. I'm sure that's what's going on with Assange. Isn't it possible that
I would say
he's just
that
an enemy
Snowden
of
seemed
all
like
governments?
Snowden seemed like the principled person of the two.
But where's he living?
He's in Russia now. Yeah. And so who knows?
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. It's so easy
How
to
could you not be?
fall into that trap of, there's secret stuff going on. We don't, but it feels like there's secret stuff going on.
Of course
we don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And that's what we're made.
I don't want to be a soft-brained conspiracy theorist.
That is Putin's design, is to create
the key.
chaos and
That's
put
what he
doubt.
wants to do.
Because then
you don't know
nobody,
what's true.
You don't know what's true. You feel ungrounded and you give up.
You know, it was
and then they stay in power.
A great recent movie that shows how kind of fake news works is Chappaquiddick. I don't know if you've seen
I gotta
Chappaquiddick.
watch that.
It's fantastic.
It's the Ted Kennedy story.
It's really good. They show you what
Now,
really
one
happened.
of the reasons that made me nervous is we don't know what really happened.
Exactly. They handled all that stuff really well.
Okay.
I think.
They didn't have a point of view on, well, it really happened, or didn't.
They went conservative. They did have a point of view, but they didn't accuse him of having an affair. They didn't none of that stuff.
Right.
But they showed the best part of the movie to me was all the power players saying, "Oh, okay, how are we going to spin this? How are we going to do this? Call this guy and turn his arm."
It's like Wag the Dog. We know that stuff happens.
But then at the end of the movie, I hope I don't spoil that. I hope this isn't a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. They show actual footage of people in Massachusetts being interviewed after Kennedy gave the speech, supposedly coming clean, after you've gotten all this information about what really happened, how they spun it, and they were interviewing people on the streets going, yeah, I think, and you could see the public just completely buying hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
This concocted fabrication about
and goodness knows Grandpa Joe, actually Daddy Joe,
Yep.
did plenty of that.
Oh, and he was a major player in all of this
legend
stuff. And,
in that.
Yep, and he was an evil person for sure. But the point is that the fake news has been with us for a long time, and now it's just weaponized with all kinds of high-tech stuff and social media.
What's a person to do? I talk to people all the time. I talked to somebody the other day on the radio show, said, yeah, I get all my news from Facebook. And I said, I actually gave her a list of ways to get news not from Facebook because that's obviously the worst possible place.
I like to listen to both sides. So I listen to extreme people on both sides. I'll listen to Ben Shapiro on the right, and I'll listen to on the left like Rachel Maddow, right? And so they have completely divergent positions and of party affiliation, but they're both intellectually honest. And then in the middle, you have this sort of intellectual dark web that's been growing.
I wouldn't call them intellectually honest. They're both really, they both artificially tar the left, the right.
Yeah.
Because that's how you juice up viewers. You know what I'm really liking a lot these days is National Review for the right.
Huh.
They are intellectually honest.
I like
and also
Reason
vigorous.
Magazine.
Reason Magazine's great too. They're not exactly all the way to the right. Yeah, it's like weed smoking capitalists basically. But actually check out the National Review for solid, intellectually rigorous, honest, like right wing.
I do think
very right wing.
Getting back to the very beginning of the show, that we are in troll land now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is because
we choose it.
link bait. If you want to succeed as a publication on the web or anywhere, you want to generate hits, you want to generate clicks, and the way we do it is getting people wound up. And it seems to me everything,
the better.
Everything that's happening right now, nobody who doesn't get people wound up is going to have a voice.
Unless they have subscribers. And so I think if you want to do something patriotic, I think subscribing to Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times,
just to
NPR,
support them.
Just to,
I don't trust the New York Times anymore. I used to think they were the Journal of Record. They have all sorts of axes to grind.
I think they have some axes to grind. I think the Journal editorial page does too. And I think if you read 4 or 5 of them, you can kind of triangulate.
Yeah.
So you're basically trying to triangulate on the truth.
I'm just more confused. Here from the Wall Street Journal, a story you may or may not believe. Russian hackers reach U.S. utility control rooms, Homeland Security officials say. In a lot of them. Now, we've known this has been going on for a long time, that the hackers, they did this in the Ukraine. Sorry, not the Ukraine. They did this in Ukraine, an independent nation called Ukraine, not a region of the Soviet Union called the Ukraine. And they brought the grid down just for 4 hours. It was clearly a test.
Yes. This seems like a mistake because essentially they're teaching their adversaries, including the United States, how to guard against an attack when the rubber really meets the road someday.
You should really do this quietly.
Yeah, you should figure out how to do it without alerting the other side, because now, what's going to happen? Now there's going to be this scramble to patch and fix and protect and so on. People are beginning these Google keys.
Although this, as you said, this has been going on for a long time. We've known about it, and it's still happening.
Yep.
According to the Journal, the Russian hackers who worked for a shadowy state-sponsored group previously identified as Dragonfly or Energetic Bear. There's also Fancy Bear.
Fancy, he's very fancy.
There's a lot of bears. Broke into a supposedly secure, air-gapped, or isolated networks owned by utilities with relative ease by first penetrating the networks of key vendors. This is how Target was broken into. It was through the HVAC vendor who had trusted relationships with the power companies. According to the Department of Homeland Security, they got to the point where they could have thrown switches and disrupted power flows. But here's the point. DHS has been warning utilities since 2014.
They're going to have to create some controls and fines for these, and this critical infrastructure. If it would be, I think people would consider it an act of war if they did this kind of stuff. And so that's one of the things, and they should. Most people don't consider it an act of war to what they did with Clinton's email and hacking into the DNC and hacking our election. They don't consider that an act of war.
That's why they do it.
And that's why they do it. So I think this might be a line they don't want to cross, but I do think we need to take it much more seriously. And then if you watch a show like The Americans, or you look at this recent spy who was obviously using sex as a weapon to compromise it. I mean, you go to one of these...
Marina Butina.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to one of these dopey guys... working at...
Yeah, she was 29. They were all in their 60s.
Yeah, a 50-year-old guy said, she's like, hey, I'll have
As
sex
a man
with you
in my 60s.
Yeah, I'll have sex with you
just want to
if
say,
you give me your key card.
Okay.
Get me access. It's like...
There you go.
And they're just thinking, and she likes guns too. Wow.
And she's into guns. What could possibly go wrong?
Russian guns. No alarm bells going off
No,
there.
none.
In the next prediction, in the next 5 years, there will be an open cyber warfare ongoing. We have actually promoted the United States Cyber Command. It is now at a peer to the Navy and the Army and the Marines and the U.S.
Didn't Trump
DOD.
kill that?
No.
He doesn't have anybody running it, I think, is the issue.
Oh, maybe that.
He killed the oversight or the unification of the various...
Yeah, but this happened fairly recently.
And
it was a
we're gonna
part of the
have
NSA. It
the
is
Space
now
Force. You've heard of
DOD.
the Air Force. We're now going to have Space Force.
Space Force.
On my watch,
That's
lasers
going to be good.
in space.
Lasers.
Huge. Incredible.
You do a lot of impressions. You're very good.
I just do it to annoy my wife in the car. I just practice so I can annoy my wife.
So it is now a full independent and an independent unified combatant command, which means something as of May. I really feel like we're gearing up for this, and yet,
and I'm not looking forward to it because North Korea has no targets. You know what I mean?
Right. What are
It's
you going to do? Bring down their infrastructure?
Little Rocket Man, I feel we'd have a great relationship.
Have a better button.
If we
My
played
button's bigger.
Fortnite together, I think it'd be huge.
Well, and that's the other thing. Talk about bread and circuses.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like I'm complicit in this.
Yeah.
All we talk about is, hey, Fortnite, awesome, right? Got to play more of that
Coming out
game.
on Android pretty soon, by the way.
Yeah, very exciting. And me, so we're fiddling while Rome burns.
Yes.
What should we do?
Well, on the other hand, Trump is the meta troll, and he's trying to get our attention, and I think that's the economic damage he's doing. He's distracting everyone. I think we should fiddle. That'll show him.
It feels to me like since we're at the point where we went there, it just feels to me like we're starting. It's the beginning of the end. It feels like with this Mueller investigation.
Did you have your bug out? Did you buy that condo in the SAC command center in Idaho? You don't.
The
do you have your
survivalist?
go bag? Do you have?
Oh no, I'm not worried about
Do you have
that.
land in New Zealand? You're going to go there? No, nothing.
No, I'll stay here.
I hear your friends do.
Yeah, this.
Well, it's stupid because
It's
where
like-
are you going to go, honestly?
Well, no,
if it all goes to hell,
like,
there's
no,
no way
I've
to
got
go.
my pilot, and he's going to take me to New Zealand. It's like, no, your pilot's going to take your plane and his family
Right.
to New Zealand, and he's leaving you behind.
when the human race is all dead, I'll have the last laugh. I mean, what are they thinking is going to be the outcome?
You might want to just try to solve humanity's problems now and participate in the solutions rather than run
Or
to New Zealand.
Start pumping iron so that you're the stronger of the two.
And listen, I watch Walking Dead. I am going to make it to like season 5 or 6. Peter Thiel's
Are
not
you?
making it out
You
of
ready?
episode 1.
You're ready.
For sure.
What are you
clever.
going to do to make it to episode season 5?
I am clever. I am clever. I am clever as F.
And carry a
AF.
baseball bat with a nail in it, and that's
Absolutely. I'll be fine. Don't worry about J. Cal. But I do think that it does feel like with this Mueller investigation and all the stuff that's coming out, that I think it's the end game. And I had somebody who was like close to politics. Was like, yeah, they're going to give it like 2 years when this all wraps up.
Yeah.
The Republicans are going to just pull the rug out from under and put Pence in charge.
Right. We'll go from
And
House
so
of
that,
Cards
literally
to
somebody in the government told
Handmaid's
me this.
Tale, basically.
It was like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. Pence is not going to go Handmaid's Tale. It'll be like more conservative than most people want it.
He'll play ball.
He'll
all
play
that stuff,
ball.
yeah.
It'll be fine again. I think we're going to get through it. This is
it's
a
actually-
giant civics lesson.
The truth is, it's fine now. It really is. The Washington politics don't affect us as much
I think
as we
that's
think
really
they do.
the truth.
Yeah.
And in fact, I keep seeing polls say that most people, besides the media elites, aren't even really aware of it. They don't even know about.
Have
the
our
Russian
lives
invasion.
changed that much at all? Even
No.
Economy's
it makes
on a
me
tear.
sad. It makes
But
me
it
sad
was on a
because
tear
we've said
before.
that for years. That politics doesn't matter. That's why I don't vote. That's how it got there. Nobody voted.
Right.
And I mean, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
I feel like we should care. But you're right. In the long run, it doesn't seem to make that much of a difference.
It really does.
It's as bad as you could get. It's as incompetent as you can get. It doesn't seem to make any difference.
The landscape of the mind has changed, and the actual material reality of our lives has not really.
Yeah, I just wonder
'cause you live
if
in
there's like
Italy,
an unknown, like one of these unknown unknowns could happen. Like we don't know.
Well, that's why, like Russian hackers in the grid. That's an unknown.
It's pretty sinister when you think about it. They basically took the issue which rips Americans apart most, guns, and they're like infiltrating the race, and then combine both of them.
I love it.
And basically weaponize us against each other over this issue.
But look at how much Zuckerberg is amoral. Putin. Let's take a break. I want to keep going for another 4 or 5 hours, but we really probably shouldn't. Are you watching Succession on the Showtime?
No.
Oh,
what is it?
You should watch that. It's the Rupert Murdoch story. It's about an aging right-wing media mogul who has a stroke. He's got 5 completely useless kids. Really the worst. I can't decide which is worse than the other. All fighting over the remains. Meanwhile, he's saying, no, I'm not leaving.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, it's great.
This reminds me more of Redstone because Murdoch.
It's more like Sumner Redstone.
It's more like Sumner because Murdoch is got James Murdoch, who's really smart.
Who's actually smart. His son is pretty good.
I just saw him recently.
Redstone is in non-compos mentis at this point, and his
apparently the
wife
story,
or mistress or somebody's running the show.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I can't wait to.
It got so weird with him.
Yeah, by the time
the
movie comes out, Leo DiCaprio is going to play him, and
Yeah, well, you know what? When you got billions of dollars, I just want a little tip to you.
Exactly.
When you get into your 80s, it doesn't seem to make any difference.
I'm going to want to watch Jeopardy and have fish sticks and go to bed. I want to have 8 girlfriends.
I saw that movie. Yeah. Did you ever see The Queen of Versailles? Must-watch documentary.
Heard about
exactly that story.
Yeah.
Fish sticks.
Give me some fish sticks.
Fish sticks. I'm watching TV.
I get my fish sticks and TV. It's good. I used to have 4, now I have 3.
It's a documentary called The Queen of Versailles. He was the timeshare mogul.
Yeah.
Which means, of course, he was completely corrupt. Yeah. And married this young woman.
Right.
And it's a fabulous story. But then the timeshares collapse.
Yeah.
And so this young woman is not happy.
Yeah.
She's not happy.
No.
It's a marvelous scene where she goes, even though they have no money, and loads up 10 carts at Toys R Us. Literally. She's got 10 cards. She's pulling them. She's got a string.
Our credit cards don't work. They don't. Well, I'll just use a check.
Our show is brought to you, this portion of it is brought to you by Uber. I use Uber all the time. And in fact, even in the delete Uber movement, I struggle. And I said, no, this is a great service. Especially when you travel and there's an Uber and you've got the app, and they are really moving forward. That's the message they wanted me to tell you, that under new management, they are doing a lot to improve your experience and your trust. A lot of new features for riders designed to take the stress out of the pickup. You've got pickup notes in the Uber app, which lets you share a note with your driver on what you look like, how to spot you, which I love. You could choose a color to light up your phone's screen. So you can say, okay, my phone's going to light up red, look for that. And you hold it up, the driver goes right to you. That is huge.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
They've also, of course, let you tell somebody that you're on your way, so they know what car you're in, when you're coming. Uber is really committed to improving the ride-sharing experience for both riders and drivers. Recently, my daughter, Abby, I use her as an example. I had bought her a car. She had 4 accidents in a row. And I said, okay, Abby, guess what? You're not driving anymore, but it's cheaper for me to pay for your Uber. It's safer. I know she's not going to get in an accident. She can text her little heart out. And it's less expensive for me to let her Uber everywhere. In fact, it's been a huge savings.
Yeah.
When you add in gas and insurance to the cost of the car, huge savings.
Yep.
And I feel better. I know she's safer. I know my mom, same thing. 85, and I use her as an example all the time too. She's not driving anymore. We got her to give up her car a few years ago. My sister, who lives nearby, was driving around, but she had to wait till Eva could do it. I said, Mom, here. I put Uber on her phone. I said, I'm going to put my credit card in so you don't have to think about it. She says, oh, I don't know. She loves it now. Yeah. She's Ubering everywhere. And for an 85-year-old, it's given her real freedom.
Yeah.
It's really huge. She can go to the doctor. She can go shopping. And the Uber drivers are great. She loves them.
As a nomad, can I put in a pitch for taking Ubers when you're in foreign cities? Like in cities like Mexico City, where almost nobody speaks English for some reason. I have no idea why. This is the only city in the world where nobody speaks English. Where there are a lot of dangerous neighborhoods and you don't, as a visitor, don't know where they are, where the city is the size of a country, essentially.
Huge, like the 22 million, 24 million.
Uber is an absolute godsend in Mexico City and places like that cost almost nothing. You get the person rolls up not in a Volkswagen Beetle, but in a brand new car. They take you right through the worst areas safely. They pick you up with the app. They pick you up. You can be in. We actually got lost in Mexico City at night. It was like midnight. We're like, oh, this is not good. Just they came right to us, and it was fantastic. So when you travel,
so I think it's a new Uber, and I think that's the communication they want to give you. They're moving forward. This is a company that is changing the way we get around that, and so please just consider it. I still use it all the time, and I trust my mom and my sister with it. I just think it's the right thing to do. If you want to find out more about what they're doing, the improvements they've made to the app, their commitment to you as customers, go to uber.com/moving forward. Uber.com/moving forward. Yeah. Here's what I'm sad about, because we did do ads for this. This is the Bosch funded a company called Mayfield Robotics.
I remember this.
And remember this cute little curry robot? We went down there. Well, it never it never really did anything. Well, which might have been a problem.
Why didn't it? They did seemed like they did the hard part, but they forgot to do the easy part.
And Bosch, I thought it was really cool. Bosch put money into it, but I gather what's happened is that Bosch's startup platform, the money's run out. Mayfield says we're not going to go anywhere. They've got these genius guys and gals working there. I think they've got a really interesting product, but if you did put down money on a curry as I did, maybe because of our ads, you will be getting a refund, which at least I respect that.
Sure.
A lot of Kickstarters, you put the money down, you get nothing. This one, you're going to get your money back.
Consider all Kickstarters a donation.
Yeah.
A non-refundable donation. You may not get it back.
Yeah. So Curry says, Mayfield Robotics says they're pausing production. They're going to do a full refund.
That's fun.
But I hope that they continue.
Are personal robots, like, when do we think there'll be a personal general robot that would be worth buying? Like, a dishwasher is a robot in a way.
I think we're a long way off from it. Like C-3PO? No.
Anything that follows you around and does stuff for you, because maybe Alexa, to a certain extent, is a general robot.
Yes. So what if iRobots, which makes Roombas, what if they built something like this on top of a Roomba? What if it cleaned your floor, walked around, and was kind of like a Google Assistant? That'd be amazing.
Yeah, they could easily put Alexa in and sort of follow you around like a speaker. So it'd be like a Sonos speaker. But I'm saying if it had an arm on it, and you could say, go find my keys, and go find your keys and bring them to you. Or like, hey,
that would be cool.
Go feed the cat. You know, like that kind of stuff where a robot could be in your home doing tasks that it wasn't originally programmed to do, that you trained it to do.
So how long before, when you say go feed the cat, it comes back with the dead cat and says, who do you want me to feed it to? How long before it doesn't do that?
How would you like me to prepare the cat?
Yeah.
Fried? Microwaved?
Okay.
The cat's defrosting in the microwave.
We just lost all the cat fans.
I knew it was a horrible future, but I did not anticipate that. Oh God. Oh God.
Feed the cat.
Oh.
Twit 667. Feed the cat.
To whom should I feed the cat?
To whom should I feed the cat?
And so a show title was born.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
So wrong. So right.
We had to do the show until we got the title. We got the title, and that's the official rules of Twit, is that we now can conclude the
serve
episode.
Cat. That's a good call.
Serve cat.
Very good. Good callback. That's
really good.
Serve
to serve mankind.
Yeah. Oh, what a great episode. That's my favorite Twilight
Best spoiler episode ever. It's a cookbook.
It's a cookbook.
Why do I think that was Childhood's End and not it was a Twilight Zone?
It was just Zone. It was Twilight Zone. Yeah.
It's kind of a similar ending though, wasn't it? Sorta. Yeah. Okay. I've spoiled two things. So anybody want to talk about Infinity War? Anything you want to spoil here?
Not really.
We did that last time. We clicked and the show was over. Everybody dissolved. It was awesome. Jason Calacanis, you must never dissolve. You must come back. You don't have to bring champagne, but it's okay if you do. How's your Dogecoin? Did you invest? Did you get it? Did you get an early?
I had some Dogecoin and I had some Bitcoin that my assistant bought, and then that that exchange got hacked and everything was gone.
Oh no, you lost your money. Was it Gox? Was it Mt. Gox?
No, it was another one at the same time. But luckily
Lord.
my wife bought some cryptocurrency, but I actually think Bitcoin zero. That's like,
that's not a good investment.
It's great that it hasn't been hacked.
What are the fundamentals? That's the question.
There is no use case that's emerged in 5 years.
What about blockchain in general?
Overblown.
Yeah.
It's probably we have great databases that are fast. Like the number of use cases that need a public
decentralized
ledger. Like it's a fun thing to be like, yeah, we'll put Uber and eBay on that, but it's like, but that makes no sense.
Right.
It doesn't provide any value. Like I don't need every ride in a public ledger that creates more problems than it's worth. Right. Like so I think it's one of those things where people got very excited about a technology like VR. It reminds me of the early days of VR in the 90s where people were like, oh my God, can you imagine you're going to float through the Yahoo catalog? Or, and you're going to be pulling out photos and then you open up a folder of photos and you can all walk around the photo and then jump into the photo. It's like, okay, but that doesn't sound actually that cool. Why? Like I can hit the next button and go through a gallery on my computer. So sometimes and I always can tell when the Los Angeles scene gets obsessed with the technology, because they're all just unemployed producers who have nothing to do. So this is my LA producer test. When all the LA producers start calling me, I'm like, oh, I get it. So with VR, they were like, oh yeah, creating virtual worlds. And then they came back again. Yeah, creating Oculus, Virtual World. Oh no, AR. We're creating AR experiences. And they're not doing any work. They're just writing proposals and trying to get consulting agreements. So it's nonsense.
This week in startups, you've interviewed recently Steve Case, Reid Hoffman, and Tim Ferriss. That's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah, some good ones.
Not bad.
Not bad. We do okay.
People can find that wherever they find podcasts. Just search for Twist, TWIST.
Just type in This Week in and then click subscribe for startups and
all
tech.
of them. Subscribe to them all. Yes. And of course, the book Angel, which is a great. And I know a lot of people are buying it, but you should do what most people do.
Go to Audible.
The Audible is free. You know why?
It is amazing how many people review it over there.
Yeah.
I have 700 reviews. Can you click over to it? I wonder how do you see it over there?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, I can go to Audible.
You got to go to Audible. Calacanis.
You have 700. Nothing has 700 reviews.
It's
on
unbelievable.
Audible.
People. Well, you know what the thing is? When you make a book, you should make it under 6 or 7 hours so people can finish it, because at the end it prompts them to rate it. And the problem is, most people write books that are too long. Nobody ever gets there. So how many?
You prompt people in the book to rate it?
No, at the end it says rate it, but I figured out the trick.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put my email address
626 5-star ratings.
Crazy, right?
106 4 stars.
We didn't pay anybody to do that.
And then the rest, a total of 42, 3, 2, and 1 stars.
No, it's just haters. Those are people I fired.
They're people you fired.
People are haters. Yeah.
Look at this. It is, and it's great.
incredible-
Let me play just a little. I can play a little bit. Just people should listen because
here we go.
he reads it so well.
All of the other books out there, and some are great, try to explain to you how people made money in real estate by mastering the art of the deal or by getting the right people on the bus and the wrong ones off. But they are largely historical documents now.
This is right at the beginning. And you know what's great? That was your that was your audition, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I listen to that and go, yeah, you got to have Jason say it.
Yeah, of course.
It's his voice.
Yeah.
How to invest in technology startups, timeless advice from an angel investor who turned $100,000 into $100 million. You're worth more than that. You're worth more than that. That's a lie. You're worth like 10 times.
We'll see what happens to you, bro.
You're in a 6-comma club.
No.
You're in the 3-comma club.
No, it's going to take some more time. 2 commas.
I thought you drove up in a McLaren.
No, that's too douchey. Too douchey.
Mike Elgin, you got to love Mike. He is one of my favorite people, elgin.com. And of course, if you get a chance, go to gastronomad.net, click on experiences and go to Prosecco, go to Morocco, go to Barcelona. Take advantage of these experiences. Mexico City's coming up in the winter.
Yep.
Oh, man.
What a life.
What a life.
What a life. And I would invite everyone to subscribe to my newsletter, Mike's List, elgin.com/Mike's List.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Mike's
Last time you were here, you mentioned that you were going to put all your Chrome extensions online.
Yes,
you did.
I did. And this is a work in progress. I'm going to work up to 100. And this is a living document. So I have all the Chromebook nerds and Chrome extension nerds giving me advice.
Is that a Chromebook there?
It is. It is a Pixelbook.
It's a nice Google Pixelbook.
Oh, that's a new Pixelbook?
Oh,
what does that cost? 1,000?
I spent $2,000 on. No, this is the 16 gig one. This is the catalog.
Top of the line.
I got the pencil. I got the pen. I got a really nice leather case. I got all this. It was $2,000.
But you know what?
When you
It's
load
awesome.
20 Chrome browser windows, it doesn't crash.
20? I loaded 50.
Yeah.
I can have 150 tabs open,
Because it's got a lot
fantastic,
of
yeah.
memory.
So you recommend that one? Is that the best
Highly.
Pixelbook you can
Yes.
buy?
It absolutely is the best Chromebook of any
most
kind you can buy.
expensive.
Yeah, it's the most expensive version of the least expensive
But
platform.
you know what? You gotta look at it. It really, it's light. It's
That is
really.
cool. I have they
they
sent
actually
me a free
designed
one
it very
of the
well.
first version.
Really?
But this is
Oh no,
so
this
much
is much
lighter.
nicer.
Yeah.
They've really made
And
it
it has a
huge.
touchscreen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Android
It's a thing
apps.
of beauty.
And how long does
And
it-
now
does it have
with
4G
9 hours.
LTE on it?
No.
They didn't do
They,
that. but
they
you know
did that
why?
in the last one. It was so nice.
I
Yeah.
think the reason they did that is they figure, well, everybody's got a hotspot on their
Yeah,
phone.
just-
Why?
Yeah.
No one
That
wants
works,
another
right.
subscription.
Right.
yeah.
But super thin.
One thing you might be interested in the next edition of that, I think it's 69 of Chrome OS. You'll be able to run Linux apps as well.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And
So-
Windows and all kinds of stuff.
It's kind of an
And
interesting
Fuchsia.
mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Android apps run far better than I thought they would.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
The trick is finding one that uses it appropriately instead of looking like a phone.
Many of them do.
Now they
You go
do?
full screen.
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
and it's just
All right.
fantastic.
Oh, so you have the 16 gig.
Yes, 16 gigs,
Yeah, I
half a
Buying it
terabyte. Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Actually, you should have bought it on a Prime Day. They had a pretty good deal on it. Actually, might have not been the high end, though. I think it was the low end. Mike's List, subscribe at elgin.com. And one of the first things you'll get probably is that Chrome.
I will put it.
Put that in the
I will
list.
put it in the list next week.
Yeah.
But the list is really this is a labor of love. I've been doing it for a long time. This is the irresponsible, dangerous fringe of technology. This is the fun stuff. The newsletter is just all the craziest stuff that happened in the week.
Nice.
And so, if you love the show, you will also love
It
Mike's
is
List.
kind of like the written version of this show.
It's
I think you're right. If you enjoy Twit, you can come be in our studio audience. 2 whole people did. We were so nice to have from Sydney. That's all right. You know, some days are busier than other days. It's really great to have you. We'll put a chair out for you, but you do have to email tickets at twit.tv. Chris is visiting from Sydney. Welcome, Chris. It's nice to have you. All the way from Australia. We get a lot of Australians.
Hey,
I don't
I just
know
got
why.
back. Incredible city.
Oh,
Loved
Sydney.
it.
I love Sydney. Yeah.
I went to Tetsuya. Oh my God, this Japanese restaurant there, Michelin starred.
Really?
Unbelievable.
in Sydney
Tetsuya.
because we're going next year as well.
Incredible.
To Australia.
It's so great. Yeah, the food is amazing. The people are amazing.
I'm going to let you two talk amongst each other while I mention that you can also watch the stream at no cost to you. It's at twit.tv/live. We do the show 3 p.m. Pacific on Sundays. That's 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. If you are watching the live stream, I really encourage you to chat along with the chat room, irc.twit.tv. They're all watching along with you. So it's kind of like the commentary going on behind the scene. But as always, with everything we do, we make on-demand versions of our shows available at the website, twit.tv, or subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. That way you'll get it every week, right before your Monday morning commute, so you'll have something to listen to. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time as we continue. This is what, soon to be year 13, 14?
Wow. What a pioneer.
I-
You basically
pioneer,
created space.
old guy, same thing.
That's it. Classic.
But I've been saying the same thing for almost 700 episodes, more than 700 episodes. Another twit is in the can. Take care.
Amazing.
Salud.
Salud.
Salud. Doing the twit.